Good evening and welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, Mr. Snippets,
Welcome back to A Real Study.
Black Girl Marvel,
But I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Mr. Marvelite,
not knowing anything about the film.
all the movie things,
Knowing like I was locked in right away.
the pre-review with Super Gummy Guru,
Preview.
and me, the Real Study movie voice guy. Tonight on The Real Study, it's a special Brandon Fraser episode. Encino Man, directed by Les Mayfield with co-stars Sean Astin and Pauly Shore. Airheads, directed by Michael Lehman with co-stars Steve Buscemi and Adam Sandler.
One of the hostages, doof. Sorry.
And Mrs. Winterbourne, directed by Richard Benjamin, co-starring Shirley MacLaine and Ricky Lake.
And we are going to say hello to everyone. How is everyone doing?
Doing okay.
Hannah said no volume.
No volume.
Oh,
That's
wow.
not even remotely true. Maybe it's me again. That would drive me nuts. You guys should have volume.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go. Never mind. She's good now.
Okay. That said, we are doing an all Brandon Fraser evening, but there was a lot that happened this weekend within the entertainment world, specifically from San Diego Comic-Con and mostly from Marvel. So we're going to actually take a little bit and discuss kind of our reactions to what was announced and the previews we got to see and go from there. Now, I know Mr. Marvelite is going to absolutely want to talk about some things, but he spent like 5 hours last night going over almost all of them. And yes, next week should be the Daddy Deakins week, if you will, the Roger Deakins all cinematography episode. So tune in for that. That said, let's see. So Black Girl Marvel, you made a video specifically about the Wakanda Forever video trailer that came out. Tell us more. What did you think?
I felt a lot for that trailer. It was just like I had like, for me personally, I was, and I'm not saying other people didn't feel like this, but for me personally, this trailer is very heavily anticipated for me because it's like, as much as I do like the first Black Panther, I really felt like production-wise, they kind of let them down towards the end. Like it was like rushed in a way kind of thing. So then, especially with Chadwick's passing, I just wanted them to handle the second movie as beautiful and as, I don't want to say delicate because it's Black Panther. Like I don't want it to be delicate, but that's not what I want to see. But I just wanted them to just kind of like revere it, I guess, in a way. Just kind of hold it to a different standard than they did the first one. And I feel like with the trailer is very promising on what's to come for the film itself. I cried, I smiled, I got hyped. You know, anything that you could feel in a trailer, I felt it in that trailer, and I felt like down to the clips they showed, the words that were spoken by Angela Bassett, the music that they used, the way that it transitioned from No Woman No Cry into it's gonna be like Tim's into Kendrick. It was just a great. It just flowed nicely. I teared up, man. Like you can feel the love. You can feel Chadwick's stamp on this, even if he's not fully physically in this full film. Because I think he filmed something for this, maybe a little bit. I think, if I'm not mistaken, before he passed away, like something. But I'm excited, and of course, Riri Williams, Namor. Like when I saw Riri Williams, I was like, oh snap! I forgot she's supposed to be in this. And so
Right, yeah.
I'm excited. I'm like super duper excited.
Awesome. All the movie things. What stood out to you with the San Diego Comic-Con announcements, and your thoughts on Black Panther's trailer as well?
I was kind of like out of the loop, to be honest, because I was actually in Brownsville, Oregon all day celebrating Stand By Me Day. So I was like doing this whole other movie thing. But I was like
Nice.
trying to keep up with it like on TikTok. And like I get all the emails from Deadline and everything. So they're kind of keeping me posted. But I was like, son of a bitch. I'm like missing all these damn great things, you know. And I did I did watch the trailer like 3 times just in Brownsville. So
Mhm.
just the Wakanda Forever trailer was like the one that I watched multiple times. Some of them I kind of like was like like the Shazam one. I was like, okay. It was like kind of okay. Yeah, it wasn't definitely not as much hype around DC stuff as I mean Marvel just kind of like gave us this
Mhm.
I mean a buffet of stuff, you know. And
Yeah.
yeah, and just like I got emotional watching that trailer too, just the first time. It's just like I mean it totally like locked me in right away. I mean, even though there's other stuff around me that was going on, I was trying to like be at this thing, but I was like, uh and I also feel like that's it. Like, don't show us anything else. Don't like this is the only trailer they need. I mean,
But you know they will, and I
I
won't look
know
at
it's like
but I won't look at any other trailer but this
it's so
one.
good though too, just like from
Yeah.
a trailer perspective, but also just like
Yeah.
it doesn't show us anything plot wise, you know. There's like all
It
this
kind of shows us
speculation, like
everything. Mhm.
yeah, like that last shot of like the Black Panther like claw coming into frame was like
Mhm.
I think I got a little loud in the I was like in this park basically like I was like oh And, but yeah it was like really great to see all this stuff and see what other content creators that were sharing like my FYP on TikTok was just like Wakanda forever, Wakanda forever,
Mhm.
Wakanda forever, you know. So
She-Hulk, Wakanda
it's
Forever,
pretty
She-Hulk.
yeah
Yeah,
yeah. And the She-Hulk thing looked great too, like that got me even more excited for the show.
right.
um yeah, some fun little bits. The Daredevil um series
Mhm.
Yes,
that looks
18
I mean,
episodes.
yeah,
Yes.
like a proper series, like
Solid.
so yeah, it should be sweet.
Wait,
I'm pretty excited.
She-Hulk is getting 18
No, no, no,
episodes?
no,
No.
no,
The
no.
Daredevil.
Daredevil
born
is
again.
getting 18.
Yeah.
Oh,
She-Hulk's
I was
getting
like,
six or eight, I think.
I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now Daredevil, I
And
kind of understand because they might not give him a film. So
right,
Which
giving
they
right.
him these
should.
episodes,
I heard
I
too,
think they're
like
going to give him
definitely.
everything, though. I think
oh,
he's going to be
totally.
everywhere based on
Yeah.
what we've seen so
But he
far.
might
I
get,
know.
he's
Echo
gonna pop up for sure.
and he's gonna pop
Yeah.
up in She-Hulk probably, like
Mhm.
and
He's already
like
been No
I
Way
love
Home.
yeah. Like the idea I think that I read somewhere else was like it was gonna be this new Daredevil was gonna be a lot more courtroom procedural too. Like it was gonna have more elements of that and not just like Daredevil being brutal.
Honestly,
I
I
hope
like
So that'll
so.
be
that
interesting.
though. I
Yeah.
Yeah.
like that because he's
Yeah.
smart. Like but let's not
Oh
forget
yeah.
he's
That's
smart.
like part of his
Like
life too. Like yeah.
literally, so I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
it
and
should
I
be
like
fun.
that we're
A lot of
going to
great
see
stuff.
him in Attorney at Law because they did work together a lot.
Yeah,
She-Hulk and
right.
Jennifer and him worked together a lot. Mr.
Yeah.
Marvelite, I know you talked a lot about this already yesterday, but you've had a little bit more time to kind of formulate your thoughts. What is your thoughts of just kind of what you've seen in Phase 5 and planned Phase 6 so far?
Well, I will say I was actually rather surprised that Marvel gave us as much as they did because I really thought that they were
Right.
holding this back for D23. D23 has kind of been their bread and butter, and I should have kind of thought maybe they were going to do this because of the fact that they were big on their announcement that they were coming back to Hall H. And for those that are casual fans that really don't know this, as of 2019, I think it was like right after Infinity War, Marvel decided they were done doing Hall H for a while. It was 2018. Because right after Infinity War,
Yeah.
the only thing they really had coming out after that was Ant-Man and the Wasp. They
Hmm.
didn't want to really give anything away, so Hall H was not what they were looking for. And then with after Infinity War and going into Endgame, they decided, you know what, we're still not going to do it. And then they started doing the D23 stuff. So we should have known they were coming out with something. And I almost wonder if Marvel knew they needed to bring it for San Diego Comic-Con because DC and Warner Brothers have been having so many problems with their properties. It was going to be a huge letdown if Marvel didn't drop a lot because they
Yeah.
knew, I think everybody knew, the Flash movie was not going to be talked about. And the
Oh
only thing
no.
Even though they ended up showing him a little bit in that trailer, which I thought was
Not
really
in
wild.
they only
Right.
showed like his
not in the way
backside,
they
Right.
want
probably the
though.
better side of him right now. But you have
Yeah.
you had Shazam and Black Adam, and that was kind of it.
Yeah.
And it was great because Will Wilkins was in there and was like feeding me like pictures and information. So like I was able to kind of see like the kind of the background stuff. But things that I feel like isn't getting talked enough right now at this point right now is MODOK is coming to the MCU.
Yeah, I saw that. Like what?
Like
How?
from what I've understood, full comic
Man.
booky laser eye
Yeah.
Modok.
But how?
Floaty head, Modok. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the thing. We're not gonna we don't know yet, but
Yeah, it's gonna be
it's
so
coming.
awesome.
Like he's like one of the most challenging characters for them to ever bring to fruition on screen. Like
when Chukwudi Iwuji
Which is
came
why the
out,
Hulu series is like a comedy.
right.
You know,
Right.
like yeah.
but when Chukwudi Iwuji came out as the High Evolutionary for the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and like he was hamming it up in the suit, I'm like, only James Gunn could go that deep into like the characters to do that, and you can tell because this is now a Phase 5 property that this is going as deep as it is. And then when they announced that we were going to get 2 Avengers film, now there for Phase 6, there is a number of dates that they put up there that they wouldn't tell you what was going on. But there's like 5 or 6 properties that are happening in Phase 6 within the 2025 like time frame that we don't know between Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, which I honestly feel with Multiverse of and I'm sorry, spoilers, guys. Multiverse of Madness with the mention of Incursion. You have Loki season 1 that talks about the multiversal war and the different Kangs. We have Kang coming out in Quantumania.
Quantumania.
The Kang Dynasty is going to be the culmination of whatever happens with Kang. And I think that whatever he does at the end, like he'll lose, but it will be kind of one of those suicide bomber type losses where he's going to pull a trigger on something that is going to basically cause the universe to collapse in itself, which is going to bring us to Secret Wars. And I kind of hope that I'm wrong, but at the same time, it makes sense. You imagine these are not the comic books. These actors are aging, and they've kind of told as much stories as they can with some of these people with union contracts and everything else. I'm just predicting it now, and I'll do a TikTok video about this later on. But I think I said it in the live last night. I believe that the last Avengers film, Secret Wars, will be the end of the MCU as we know it. And
you mean like they'll kind of mega world reboot it, kind of a thing?
They're gonna mega world reboot it where it's gonna be a culmination because with Spider-Man freshman year, we are getting an introduction of a different universe than Spider-Man that is almost in parallel to where it's like Osborn and Stark at the
that one shot they shared, like with Osborn and Tony's place, and
with the push for the What If episodes, with what we saw with Multiverse of Madness of different multiversal heroes, we are going to start seeing up until Secret Wars, all of these different universes. And when Secret Wars comes, we're not going to get all of our heroes from it. Some of them are going to be gone because the Incursion is going to destroy them. And then I think we're getting Fantastic Four for the purpose of Doom is going to come in and build his battle world. And then whatever comes out after that, where it's recreated, will be the new MCU, and we'll move forward to what happens in the future. And
to your point,
like MCU 2.0 Phase 1.
Right. But to your point, Mr. Marvelite, that you're not wrong. All the characters they've introduced are very mega world centric. Very mega world centric. The fact that they've got Riri Williams, they've got She-Hulk, they've got America Chavez, are all these A-Force characters that they could absolutely still kind of lead to within Mega World. So there's plenty of room for them to do that. I like where your head is at. Professor Kevin J. Parker has been doing a lot of videos even before Comic-Con that led up to it, basically saying, look, guys, here's all the way this perfectly connects. And he was doing he always does a good job, as we all know. But he did a great job of saying, look, everything you guys are complaining about with Phase 4, about it being disheveled. I'm like, did anybody complain about that in Phase 1 or 2? No, because we were just excited to be getting it. But now that we've got it, we're all, oh, they need to do better. No, they're setting everything up since Endgame. It's all a new beginning.
Whoever complains on TikTok about things not being interconnected obviously doesn't follow Marvel PowerPoints, because they've been doing basically like the yarn chart of how every character is interconnecting into each other in the relationship chart, and it makes sense. But here's the thing: like someone just said in the was it Blind Biggie? I'm trying to see. But where's the X-Men? Yeah, it was Blind Biggie. I do not believe that X-Men 97 is a throwaway cartoon. If we're going to do an incursion and we're going to have multiversal, imagine they will slowly introduce mutants so that we get to the idea of mutants in the MCU.
I mean, they kind of did.
I bet you we're going to get some of the characters from the cartoons that whatever happens after Secret Wars will be in the MCU proper of whatever it will be.
All right. So She-Hulk, we didn't talk about that much. A lot of people complained about, and this is I think you guys were waiting for me too, and I appreciate that. She-Hulk being that there was a lot of backlash about the original preview. Watching this, I mean, she looks as good as Banner does to me across the board. And they gave me everything in that preview I wanted. I don't need to see any more before it comes out, which we're only talking, 2 weeks at this point, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
But still, the fact that we got to see her break the fourth wall, the fact that
that was pretty fun.
She's out there training, and it was perfectly timed, perfectly done. It made me, that's the part that made me giggle. Like, oof, right?
And they're going to explain the Shang-Chi Easter egg.
Right. They're really, like, there's going to be even more that we don't get to see. So there's going to be some great additions. And I like that we're going to get a lot of Hulk in this. We actually get to have quite a bit of him in it, at least from what we can tell. But I don't care. Just plenty of She-Hulk would be great too. What I'm hoping is that this will, because we got Thunderbolts, right, is going to be coming. Now, this is my worry. We know that, we lost Thaddeus, the actor that played Thaddeus. William Hurt died. So that'll be tricky for them to replace him. So I worry that instead of Red Hulk, they're going to have Abomination turn good in order to be a lead in the Thunderbolts.
Oh, for the Thunderbolts.
That's my worry.
I can see that.
What if we're just looking at the wrong Ross, that they had decided to go with Everett Ross?
I mean,
as the one who becomes Red Hulk.
Or maybe Betty comes back. I don't know if Liv Tyler would, but maybe Betty comes back and they have her go Red She-Hulk, Red She-Hulk, and she goes bad and joins the Thunderbolts or something like that. There's other possibilities.
Betty technically doesn't have to be Liv Tyler, because even though that is the continuity of it, but it could be somebody else, so they could bring her back as a different actress.
And considering only person in that is William Hurt, and well, I guess technically Tim Roth as well, they're both still in the MCU. But yeah, I mean, they changed Edward Norton so they could change Liv Tyler, or she could just do what Natalie Portman did and come back, and play the role.
I would not be angry at Liv Tyler coming back.
I wouldn't mind Liv Tyler coming back. But technically, I honestly feel like new actor for Hulk. I would like a new actor for just so we can see a different chemistry, because it's not we don't know if Liv's chemistry with Mark will be the same. Not saying it couldn't happen, but I'm just saying I would just like
I haven't thought about that.
Maybe Reese Witherspoon should dye her hair brunette and be her.
Okay, you heard it here first. Reese Witherspoon should play Red She-Hulk. That's said exclusively on the Real Study.
Or what about Jennifer Garner?
Ooh,
yes, he's worked with Jennifer Garner.
Yeah, I like Jennifer Garner too.
And she could do, she get to do the Marvel, right?
Yeah, that'd become a fun connection. Because they worked on multiple films together now. So
I'll take Garner.
Now, what about?
She'd be great.
What about Emily Blunt? Just to put that out for all the movie things. Just to put that out there.
Yeah. I mean,
yes, because she could play anything.
Yeah, exactly. She
can play anything.
I'll just get Roger Deakins in.
Yes.
Roger Deakins is Red Hulk.
Gonna shoot it. Yeah.
Eddie Ross.
Man, I had this great response to your Emily Blunt thing too, man. But
you're not the only person that mentioned that.
It was not working. It was not working for me. Yeah, it was really weird.
Biggie said he had the same problem with a video I put up, which makes no sense because I'm importing all the audio from another app, which means TikTok shouldn't care. It's just it's laid in with the video I'm uploading. So why?
Yeah, it's so weird. When I go play it back, I was playing your music and not your voice.
That's what happens when you're popular. TikTok hates you.
Anyway, so definitely some great stuff. There's been talk about people kind of slowing it down and looking at the Daredevil costume. It is the yellow and red costume, which will be great. Maybe Kevin Smith will get his hands on writing a little bit of that or something to that effect, since he did write some Daredevil back in the day. That might be interesting. I don't know. We can always hope.
Wilkins was talking crap to him after the Marvel panel yesterday, like talking about how he's like, "Oh, you're in trouble because they're going to be killing some people off with that storyline," and I'm just over the moon with what they introduced. Like, I did not expect this, and I don't even know if I'm ready for D23 now.
Right.
Because there might be shows. I was mentioning that in the chat to all the movie things. They could fill in all those gaps with just TV shows. I mean, that's what they've been doing during Phase 4. I don't see why they'd stop. They're doing well.
Yeah. Well, I guess according to like, what was it? That list of like copyrights that they submitted
Oh,
or
the
whatnot.
trademark.
Yeah, the
Yes.
trademarks. Yeah, there were still more that they didn't announce at Comic-Con. There were still more of those trademarks though below that supposedly they had registered for. So they could announce at
Oh, and
D23.
let's also mention Captain America: New World
Oh yeah, New
Order.
World Order.
Like,
Yeah.
I am so. I think after Wakanda Forever, that's the next one I'm like super hyped for.
Mm.
It's like because I don't know what they're doing, why they're taking so long to do this film, but I feel like they needed to have something that was a quick response after Falcon and Winter Soldier, so that the normal non Disney Plus like consuming media like casual fan could get into and get acclimated, so that we wouldn't have had all of these stupid, you know, Twitter notifications that Steve Rogers will not,
Oh
reprise his role
yeah.
as Captain. I'm like, are you serious? Like,
That like crazy roundabout, like yeah,
we've
like what
settled
are you
this.
doing?
Captain America is Sam Wilson,
I'm going to put this up there with the fact that people actually thought Henry Cavill was going to show up yesterday. I don't know who thought that or started that rumor. There was just no way. He had already
he's like
announced
shooting
he
in
was
the
done.
UK right
Yeah.
now. Like yeah,
there was no reason to even think that. So it's nice that we
I
finally
just-
got
I just-
confirmation.
it's kind of
but-
heartbreaking
Well,
too. It's
it was
Right,
really funny
that's
because
fair.
like when Dwayne Johnson mentioned the idea, like, oh, pound for pound, whoever Superman may be, and we were joking. I was like, that should have been when Kevin Feige got on the phone and said, we're getting Henry Cavill for Wonder Man. Like, right now.
Damn. Yeah.
And be like, oh yeah,
he could also play Sentry. Let's put that out there. That is another Superman style character in the Marvel universe that he could play.
I also thought like Captain Britain at one point too.
Captain
like, he would have been
Britain,
a good
totally.
Captain Britain.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That'd be sweet.
Nathan Fillion is already Wonder Man. Interesting. I thought he was TDK, but anyway.
Yeah, actual kid. Oh, okay. So let me
Anyway.
touch on it real quick. First of all, Riri Williams in the Wakanda Forever. Like, I am super excited. I love that we're gonna get a Mark One suit for her because we've already seen some of the promotions. But if nobody noticed, she was in a cave working on her suit.
Yeah.
Like, that was
That's awesome.
such a great parallel to Tony Stark.
I mean, it was even like a low angle shot too.
Yeah, I have
just like
a
it was
video
in Iron
coming
Man.
out. I have a video of it coming out. of
The
them
only
doing
way
that.
that they could have made it
actually
better
love
was
it.
you heard the
Yeah.
ting,
Yeah, cling.
ting from the
Yeah,
actual.
uh-huh.
But then also they changed the name
Oh,
of the Agatha Harkness show from
Yeah.
House of Harkness to the Covenant of Chaos.
Which looks way better.
Gives us a little bit more
as a name.
insight because the chaos magic being, Black
Yeah.
Widow. I would love to see, because of where this is positioned, where at the end of Covenant of Chaos, Agatha Harkness no longer has to worry about the Scarlet Witch. She's kind of done her mission, so she goes off to be the nanny of a family in this place in Manhattan called the Baxter Building.
Mm.
I'm even though there's still nothing about it. The Fantastic Four is the movie that I'm the most excited for, because if they get it right this time, it might be one of the best MCU movies we've had. And there's so much potential for so many bad guys. Obviously Doom, but we also might get a gleam of Galactus or something. Silver Surfer, all sorts of fantastic stuff. I didn't mean to do that. But it's I can't wait. Those are some of my favorite things. And it's so funny because people are like, oh, they're the oldest team or the lamest team. And yeah, some of their early comics are fairly hard to read. That's true. But the stories are still good.
A lot of like reading, like I went back and I actually read the storyline where Johnny had broken up with his, it was his fiance or his wife, and Johnny was gone or something, and she ended up being a Skrull, but she was married to the Thing, and there was like this, and then you found out that she was actually captured by the Skrulls, and they go to save her, and then she died, or she's back with Johnny, but then no, it was she was back with Ben, and then Johnny had to come to the terms that he did love the Skrull, and then she sacrificed. Like the amount of exposition in the bubbles behind of what they were thinking was overwhelming, and but it was a good story, and I think that's the thing. These are great stories, but it was also a different time. It was very much the Kirby-esque, these great panels, but then you had to fill the story in for what was going on.
Well, and Stan and all of his stuff with filling in those stories sometimes was just quick.
Well,
get
he
it
wanted to
written,
write books
you know,
at that
quick,
time. He wanted to be a book author at that point.
Right.
And so of course he's writing paragraphs and little panels.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Or passing it off to 20 other writers to get it done as quickly as possible. Their deadlines were ridiculous back then. Not that they're any better now. Anything else from Comic-Con you guys want to bring up before we move on to our all Brendan Fraser evening?
There was one thing I kind of like. I didn't mention it on TikTok, but because I was like out all day yesterday, but someone like was kind of like trashing the image that they shared for Quantumania. And the thing is like that was actually so one of the guys that does a lot of concept artwork, we're mutuals, and that's his work. So it's actually literally just concept art that they threw together to try to like as a promo image for this. And some people were kind of like trashing it and saying a bunch of PNGs thrown together, or that it was just like
I didn't
like,
get that impression.
man,
I thought it
Alex-
looked like a cool
no,
poster.
totally. They're just trying to show something.
Alex Park
real
is a
quick.
genius, and if you want to say that the MCU is visually beautiful, it is because of that man.
Yeah.
Like there is no other
Like all
reason.
the Thor
why.
stuff he did for the recent Thor film, but yeah, like
Was it Alex or
Yeah.
Andy Park? I always forget
oh yeah, maybe it is Andy.
because I always mix up his first name.
Yeah.
I think I'm thinking Alex Ross or something like that, and then
Oh yeah, I love.
I think it's
Alex.
Andy Park.
If you haven't seen the poster though, do check it out. The image of Kang in the background is fantastic. He's got that that classic Kang look.
Andy
yeah,
Park.
you're right, Andy Park.
Oh,
Yep.
that's a good point. JVC or JVS Playground Blade was also officially announced with a date, and if you guys caught Cat Lady JJ's videos, she was just simping all over the movie, and of course brought up the old we lost.
Uh-oh.
Wow. You didn't like me talking about Blade? Okay, I'm sorry. I won't bring Blade up anymore.
Did you guys see the pictures for the crew, the crew merchandise for Quantumania?
I haven't.
There's a very chrome looking Ant-Man helmet that is like got a giant gad, it's just like there's a whole chunk of it missing, and you can see Kang and a reflection.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
And if you did, this is one of those things where this was kind of shared. It should have gone around Twitter or whatever. But there was like a point where it was like they shared some of the exchange between them, and it was basically Kang like who are you, and of course Scott's like I'm an Avenger. Is like,
oh
I'm a
yeah, yeah. I saw some.
Wait, you're an Avenger? Have I killed you before?
Yeah. Like in another universe.
That would be disturbing to hear. So we did lose Black Girl Marvel. I'm not quite sure why. This was a little bit further than just a normal joke. So we do hope you come back. But in the meantime, we do need to move on to these movies because there are 3 of them, although they are comedies, and that's why I figured we can get away with a little less time on them, just because they're typically harder to spend more time on comedies. So we've got, and I'm going to move this over to the poster wall one more time, but we do have Encino Man, Airheads, and Mrs. Winterbourne. So let's go ahead and start with Encino Man. This is a 1992 film, I believe. That sounds about right. And it stars, of course, Brendan Fraser. I always say his name wrong. Pauly Shore and Sean Astin, and as well as some others, some fun little extra people. And it's about a caveman who successfully Robin Tooney, which not playing her normal self.
A young Rose McGowan.
Yes, for one line in the entire film, I thought that was hilarious. And then
she looks so different too. I was like, is that Rose McGowan? Like it looked like her. I was like, yeah.
And then Ki Hugh Kwan is also in it, strangely enough, as one of the math nerds. Which I don't think I remembered him being in it. And welcome back, Law. Glad to see you back.
I don't know. I was still in there.
Weird.
but somehow I disappeared. So
weird. Bandwidth or whatnot is an issue, of course. Okay, so why don't we start with who had seen Encino Man before this week?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we've all seen it. Okay. So this was one for me that came out when I was a sophomore in high school. You guys would have been a little younger, saw it as you got older, I assume, or right then.
I was in middle school.
You were in middle school?
Yeah,
so
me too.
What were your impressions of this movie in middle school? All the movie things.
Oh, I loved it. It was like right up my alley. And plus, like, I mean, you're like deep in the Pauly Shore universe, like that's like he was everything, like everywhere on MTV, like
in the Army now.
like, and that was the kind of thing about this. movie. Well, like I'll just focus on the question you asked and just like the first time I saw it. But yeah, loved it. It was right up my alley. Just dumb humor, that was perfect for 12-year-old me. So
That's fair. I think 15-year-old me enjoyed it as much as 12-year-old you, so that makes
yeah,
perfect sense.
yeah.
Mr. Marvelite.
I can remember specifically when this happened. It was actually a couple years after it was out. I was in middle school. It was the summer. I think it was like 6th grade into 7th grade. And my cousins were over all summer, and we binged Pauly Shore like crazy. I remember like we got chippies, we got lots of stuff to eat. The whole biodome
Yeah.
thing.
Oh,
Like we
Lord.
lived off of these movies and Dorito chips. Like that was it. And so
good.
like I just remember it was just so much fun. Looking back at it, you can kind of see like stereotypes within the film.
Oh
But
my God,
honestly,
so many,
this
so many.
Yeah.
Way too
Oh
many.
yeah.
I think what like I guess the biggest like takeaway from this is, of course, a caveman would be able to relate and help a bunch of 90s teenagers
Right.
in becoming better people. And I think
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like at that point, that was the generation. Like
Yeah.
this actually got me thinking. I actually went back and was listening to some of the music that I listened to back at this time and instantly regretted it. And so it definitely is one of those things where it's like, of course, John Aston, you remember he was always like, you saw him in like different stuff but it was great because this was my first introduction to Brendan Fraser, and after that it was like I watched everything he was in.
I think
So,
this was literally his second movie. He did one before this, and that was it, which is kind of wild. La, what is your thoughts on your initial thoughts back in the day on Encino Man?
Well, I was 6 years old when this movie came out.
Did you see it then
I
or
might have
later?
been like, I probably saw it then. I probably saw it between 6 and 8, probably, if I had to give it a number. I always thought that Brendan Fraser was fine as wine, even as a child. But I'm being honest, I remembered bits and pieces from this movie, but I didn't remember the whole movie. So me rewatching it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that part. Oh yeah, I remember that part. And then being like, this storyline is kind of weak, but I remember this part. I remember this part. But it's a 90s film. Like, what do you expect? But rewatching it was pretty cool because I was like, oh, look at that actor, that actor, that actor, that actor, that actor.
Yeah.
Because everybody was in this. Like even the guys in the convenience store, like were
Yes.
actors that I've seen in a billion things.
Yep.
And then it was crazy enough, one of the guys in the convenience store years later was in The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. So it's just one of those things that like. So that was pretty cool watching that. But I will say this: Pauly Shore is annoying. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember his era like it was yesterday. I remember his era like it was yesterday, and I didn't like it then as a child.
Yeah.
So watching it now as a full-fledged adult, in a sense, I was like, this is cringy, and I'm tired. And to see Samwise Gamgee be a mean kid, essentially, like, I think that's the thing that people kind of forget or like kind of bypass is that he's a mean kid. He's a nerd, but to me, he's on the same lines of the bully for me. The only difference is he didn't punch anybody in the. Well, he did his friend eventually, but he didn't like. He wasn't physically violent, but he was. He wanted to use this guy to his advantage, and
Yeah,
then
it's all about popularity and
for popularity. And I'll get into it later. But continue. Go ahead. Go ahead. I have a lot.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there. That was something I did want to mention because Sean always seems to play a really nice guy, or even in like Stranger Things, he plays a really nice guy. Or I guess maybe he was. No, he was nice in Goonies. He was nice in just about everything. But in this, he was kind of a spoiled turd, and just decided he was worth everything and nobody else was worth anything except for maybe Stoney. I do understand what you mean about.
Look at his family, though. Look at his family. His parents were absentees.
Yeah, they didn't really pay much attention to him, and his sister was rude.
And he had like money. Like look where they live.
I know. He just wanted a pool, and that was the most important thing. And prom king, even though it didn't seem like he had earned it. Anyway,
at all.
I agree with you on Pauly Shore. There's one movie that I think that still stands the test of time, and Son-in-Law is that movie. I still think the charm and the wit and the writing and the acting in that movie still holds up better than any other Pauly Shore movie.
Maybe we have to watch it one day because I couldn't too.
It's good and it still works. I just watched it. I don't know. I watch it probably once or twice or once every couple of years, just because it's fun. But this one, you're right. There's a lot to this film that, while ridiculous, some of the fantasy parts of the film seem more believable than some of the non-fantasy part of the films because it just gets to the point of ridiculous. The car driving on its side, things like that.
Oh yeah, that went on way too long.
Right.
Yeah.
But Brendan does a good
Way too long.
job of doing the caveman thing, because if you see him in the other two films we watched this week, you can see quite a big difference between all three roles. Like, he does a very good job of playing all three of these characters, and this is early in his career. But I think it's interesting because if you've never seen the movie Iceman, that actually came out 6 years before this, it was a Timothy Dalton film. Timothy Dalton, I believe, yes. And it's actually about a man found in ice, but it's a serious film. They find him in like the North America, and it's essentially the same story but without the teenagers. And so it's funny. I think they kind of saw that movie and went, "Huh, let's turn that into a comedy." But it works as a comedy. Timothy Hutton, that's what I meant, not Dalton.
Thank you, Blind Biggie.
Thank you, Biggie. I appreciate it. But yeah, this movie is dated at this point, and I mean, like, heavily dated. There's a lot of inappropriate jokes at this point, and I don't just mean because it's a teen comedy. I mean, there's jokes that are just cringe. Way too many stereotypes. Specifically when they go to the club and they meet the Hispanic, bar patrons. Or the two guys at the 7-Eleven, which, by the way, that's Eric Avari and Jerry Bednob, which I did not know that was his last name. But Eric's the one that played in The Mummy with Brendan, I believe. Anyway, I loved it then. I don't think I love it as much now. I think I'll still watch it here and there just to remind myself of why it was ridiculous. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's more of a nostalgia thing now. The only thing I like this movie, and In the Army Now are my two favorite Pauly Shore films, and of course, Brendan Fraser's in both of them. He was uncredited as Link
Yep.
in The Army Now. But of course, I also feel like this film was kind of what got us to having Brendan Fraser play George of the Jungle, because it was very like, oh, we need to get him without much clothes on again because that'll
and very
Could
few
you blame
lines.
him? Could you blame him? Jeez Louise, that man was a. Here's the thing.
Listen,
Honestly,
I think he was beautiful. He was
listen,
like,
watching
yes.
this film actually made me slightly sad. Well, actually, watching all three of these Brendan Fraser films actually made me very sad because you see such a light in him as an actor, and then the fact that somebody took that from him.
Yeah.
Like, I could see, like, in all of these films, you could see how much he loved acting, like the heart he puts into it, like the glint in his eye, and the fact that somebody took that from him and took that, like, it made me sad. Like, every now and again, I caught myself being like, just imagine if this person would just let him alone, like, where his career would have been, or what the films that he would have given us, or what he would have possibly written or directed, or however. It just made me sad a little bit.
I think what it sad is there's been a lot of actors and actresses that are like Brendan Fraser that have done some very iconic things for a certain period of time, and then they didn't die like Heath Ledger did, or like some other actors that we lost like too soon. They just kind of disappeared, and we know what happened with Brendan Fraser. We don't know what happened with them, and that's the sad point because a lot of them will never have the chance to have their voice.
I mean, essentially, that's like Corey Haim. Corey Haim, like, won't be able to.
Yeah, and people, even though they know what happened with him,
right?
There are still people that choose to judge him because they think that he's just weird.
And Corey Feldman, he wrote a book about it, but I watched a thing where he said that he couldn't even come out and say everything that he wanted to say because I think maybe publishing suppressed him and was like, no, you can't say this stuff. No, you got to pull this back. But he has even more stuff to talk about, that he's holding on to that could probably just release him from wherever he is. You know what I mean? So just sorry to break it down, but I just
Part of the
conversation.
reason, yeah, part of the reason we brought up Brendan Fraser and the reason it was discussed on the previous episode was because his career did have this happen. And so we wanted to highlight some of his films and talk about how great he is so that we can show people that he still is loved. We still love Brendan Fraser.
He's an amazing actor because the fact, like take Encino Man for instance, he barely speaks in this entire film. He might have a handful of words that he actually speaks. There's a lot of grunts, there's a lot of looks, and he can convey so much just with his face that I don't think he gets a lot of credit, honestly, for that. Like there are moments in Encino Man where he looks at somebody and it's like the scene where he's in the Natural History Museum and he sees like what he sees, he sees what happens to him, and he doesn't speak a word, and I'm like on the verge of crying because I get it, but I don't get it. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my! I mean, as a person who's my whole lineage, people taking me away and things like that, that really like messed me up. I was like, yo, he's like amazing, and to be like, he's probably like 19 or 20 when this film came out, and it was just like he was great, man. Like it's crazy.
I agree. It is something that I think that we forget with actors that are considered underrated is, it's a stupid comedy. So why would you put all your heart and soul into it? But he did. I believe him as a caveman in this movie. I genuinely believe
I
that
love
he
that
is.
Stuff, man. I love that stuff.
He was probably the most believable factor of this movie.
Yeah. Now, we did talk about how Sean Astin's character was a total turd in almost every possible way. But can we talk about how Stoney was actually the voice of morality through the entire film? Right? Which I love. They took the stoner and he was the good guy, right?
I mean, he was all about peace.
But aren't usually stoners sometimes the good guy because they're more relaxed and they can see stuff a little bit better?
Don't ever take the stoner for granted. After watching Cabin in the Woods, you never know.
You never know, man.
That character might have come about because of Stoney. It's possible. There might be some connection there.
It could be some connection to that. I wouldn't be mad at. I wouldn't really be mad at that. Now that you say that, I'm just seeing parallels, just in their body language, how just they're like.
Oh, her feet just cut out. Hardcore.
Oh,
it's okay. That's okay. She'll be back. She'll be back. But yeah, it is interesting that they decided to have the over the top ridiculous stoner character be the hero in a lot of ways. I don't know what's going on with your feed, but that's okay. That's okay.
Honestly, I think it's my for some reason our internet over here isn't being a douchebag for some reason. So I don't know.
Like Sean Astin's character.
No, literally. This is. I'll just start calling my internet Dave because that's in my internet now.
Sorry, we can't do that, Dave.
I know, right? Like, sorry, Dave.
Oh, I love it. There's a lot of movie references being thrown around right now.
No, can we talk about the girl that he likes?
Yes, Robin, played by Megan Ward.
She's terrible. She's a trash character. We've known each other since we were children. You traded me in. If you really take this film from a different perspective, he's creepy for being obsessed with somebody since they were like he showed up a picture of them naked in the tub. Like, we were naked together. Don't forget. You're pretty much stalking her. Like, she doesn't want anything to do with you, but you're still forcing yourself on her. And then she ends up liking your friend. And he likes you, but you ask him to ask the other dude to go to prom. Then he's fine, go to prom. Y'all have
no self-respect.
Y'all have some fun and go to prom. And then you end up kissing him at the end of the night. You don't even like him. Like, I didn't see no development in their relationship. Like, she was nice enough to him throughout. Like, she wasn't very extremely dismissive of him.
Right.
But the only reason she broke up with the boyfriend was when he punched Link. You've been punching Dave since the dawn of time.
He even threw Dave across the rink and didn't do anything.
He didn't do anything. You were A-okay, but when the cute guy got hit, I was like, she trash, bro. You want her. I was like, this is a 90s movie. I was like, where's the nerdy girl that's always like you, that's always been there for you, that you eventually realized.
They tried to blend her into both of those characters. They really did, but they didn't give any time for her. Yeah, I agree.
Didn't work, man.
I think what also was interesting, like you have this character, you have Link. Link is from a completely different time. He's like the same age group as the rest of them, but you can see the different importance, the things that they were all hung up on. he didn't understand.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he was almost taking them out of it. And I think that's one of the great things of like I'll be honest with you, like I hate saying it this way because it makes me sound young people these days, no, but young people like even there's so much high stress and expectation and anxiety that comes into even just like regular school. Like
Mhm.
I know how bad it was for me, and in this day and time, it is
Oh
magnitudes
yeah,
worse.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and like to see this pressure, like for them to have somebody to relate to help them understand this stuff wasn't important. These are the real things to be important about. Make them realize that that doesn't need to be what they need to be worried about. I think that it had a good message to it. It was yes, it was all for fun. It was all for laughs and jokes and everything else. But what I think I love with some of these comedies back in the '90s was they actually did have a good lesson in them.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, they
even
did.
Biodome, which is one of the most worthless films that I love to watch,
It's pretty bad.
was a great
Yeah,
environmental
yeah.
like understanding. Like it called out people who do all of this activism that has no purpose or whatsoever. Like the people that were doing the back massages for environmentalism. Like there were so many different things. Like it was like breaking the what was expected as popularity. And then of course you have movies like Clueless that kind of went over the rails of like showing just how shallow society is at that time. So it was definitely interesting because like a lot of people will throw these away as like, oh, these were teen movies and whatnot, but they were really getting a message across that I think adults just completely missed.
Well, look at the way that Link
Mhm.
basically approached every person he met. He was like, he'd see the people dancing, he would jump in and dance with them. He
Yeah.
saw people having fun, and he would just go
Yeah, he
have
didn't
fun
he
with
didn't
them.
know what those like apprehensions and those like,
Yeah. Like when he put his arm
those
around
concerns are. Like, yeah, he had no.
when he put his
Yeah.
arm around to do like Keyquan's character, when he put his arm around him and just
Yeah.
walk with him, I was like, that's so cute. And then like those
Yeah.
people that he just high five were making fun of them, and he just like, okay, this is my friend.
Yeah,
Type of thing,
exactly.
like go on my day.
He didn't have those hang-ups that
But
you
he was
get.
just, I think that for me, for what I took from this film was just be yourself.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that's the to me that was the overall theme of this.
Don't
Just
worry
be
about other
yourself.
people.
Like
Yeah.
because all he cared about was all he cared about was people being treated right after he figured it out. Like that's all he cared about was people not being treated wrong. If you were having fun, you were having fun. Like when they started arguing, he might not have understood what they were arguing about, but he knew it wasn't right.
Yeah, he'd
He
break
was
them
like,
up and then
he'd
like
break
try to
them up.
show love on them the best way
He'd
he
just be
could.
like,
Right.
he's like family. You just say we family, so be family.
Now, this is where Dave is important, though, because he's the opposite of Lincoln that way, where he thinks that everything he does has to be for other people and goes
Yeah.
out of his way in order to.
But it's a selfish having to do it for other people
Yeah,
because
it's a selfish thing.
he's
Yeah.
doing it for the recognition in the position. I'm sorry, Brian, I offended you.
He said he'd be right back.
No,
I'm still
but
here.
like,
Don't worry.
yeah, it's like but it's like he did it for the status of it. Like there's that thing, and it's like where people do what they do
Or
just so that
something.
they get recognized for it.
Yeah, he wants something
Like
in return.
it was like the early virtue signaling. Like it's all about being recognized for doing the right thing.
Agreed. There
Yeah,
were.
I hate Dave.
He's a terrible character. He really, really
No,
is.
he's a really like he made me I got slightly annoyed with his character because I was just like,
Yeah.
the movie's long enough in the sense, because they put a lot of stuff in there that was just like, okay, you could cut this per time, you could cut this, like
What else
I
can we
think
put
this
him in it?
movie, you know what I mean? Like what other? It was a lot of scenario based scenes.
Let's throw him
like,
in an amusement
Yeah,
park.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I
Totally.
mean?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
a lot
yeah,
of
no,
scenario based scenes.
No, you're not wrong, because there were moments where like they left school together. Next thing you know, Stoney and Link are at the amusement park together, but they never show them like
Right, so
ditching Dave
right,
ever.
to get that, right?
Yeah.
And I was just,
They're just there.
but also movies like this always makes me laugh now when I think about it, because it's like you see how far movies have come, and I say this all the time when we watch like an 80s or a 90s movie or something like that. But like there is no way that you could sign that kid up for school with no parent, no social security number, no name, no ID, no none of these things, that he just walks his like. Now it made sense that he got by the parents because the parents don't pay attention, so he could easily like, I told y'all didn't listen.
How did I forget about that? That
but
was
a
the dumbest
school-
line.
But a school though,
And
then it's
no,
like,
Right.
and the police department.
and the police department, like, come on. And honestly, for me, he did not need a sister, because she didn't do anything for the story. You could have yanked her out,
Oh my god,
and this
yeah. There's
and this
no.
film could have been exactly the same. She was just there to be like, you didn't. It doesn't make sense. That's bogus. Also, the language of
man.
this, I was like, what is? We still writing for the 80s? Because she's like, I think he's jive. What is that, hun?
Okay,
I was like,
but let's face it, every dinner scene, like anytime they were at a dinner table, like
Mhm.
there are I promise you, there is not a year that goes by in my life since I've seen that movie that I have not referenced that film at some point. And it's always in the form of
nerd.
shoot fly, don't bother me. It's like
Mine's
I
always
can't
Wheezing the
get by the
Juice,
house
but
without
that's
thinking
just
about
me. Wheezing the Juice is always
Honestly,
my
I
go-to.
enjoy the thing about Pauly Shore's character that I enjoyed was his just his breeziness for the most part. I think what irked me about Sean Astin's character is that he's so high strung that it brought up my anxiety when I watched him.
Mhm.
And I was just like, he's making me extremely anxious and I don't want to be anxious. But Pauly Shore's character was like, maybe that's the two sides of the same coin. Something his character brought me down. So whenever Sean Astin's character brought me up, Pauly Shore's character came through and brought it was just so like I had these mixed emotions, like all these emotions like watching this film because he was just like, oh, it's a fly. Like he was just very breezy, and I actually like that about the character. Don't like I hate when he pauses when he speaks. It's just
You don't
it,
like that?
That's his Pauly Shoreism. Like
feel
that's
like-
this whole thing.
That's so
like,
feel like-
Pauly Shore.
I
Come
feel
on,
like
gonna
it's-
go to the
buddy.
amusement park.
no, I feel like it's Shatner on steroids. Is what I feel like it is.
yeah, that's his whole shtick. And like,
I feel like
that was
it's
like-
Shatner.
that's
I'll
the
be
thing that-
back.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
it's
thing
like
that
I
always.
feel like it's Shatner.
Yeah, that's the thing that always like, upon rewatching this, I was just like, oh man, yeah, he's really annoying.
So,
And
do,
like, yeah,
do you guys know where Pauly Shore got his start besides MTV, before MTV? Nobody. Okay. So his
Someone
mother actually
used that
owned
as
the
car,
comedy
yeah.
store in LA. So he got
Oh,
to
wow.
meet all of the most famous comedians all the
Yeah.
time and got to learn from all of them, just standing off stage or behind stage
well, he didn't
in the
learn
green
enough.
room. No, I know.
Come on,
But
Brian.
that helped him learn the industry, and his mom was
Telling you.
was industry adjacent, which allowed you know
Yeah,
because Jim Carrey and John Belushi, everybody went through the comedy store. Like that's the
Man,
most
you
famous
were-
comedy store.
Do you
but-
understand, Brian? You
Oh yeah,
understand, man.
I'm right there.
He may not have, but that is where he got his start, and it definitely helped boost
Yeah.
his career to MTV
I would-
first. But
If I was him, I would never tell anybody that story. Because they'll be like, did you go, sir? Did you learn?
Especially if I was like
Did
a
you-"
comedy store, I'd be like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't.
It's like, did
no,
you sleep a lot? Did you sleep a lot there? You slept a lot. Yeah.
did you ever watch Robin when he was on stage? Because he might have learned
See,
something.
But I will say this though, he had an aesthetic that was different.
Yeah.
At the time, it was I guess it
Yeah, it
was
was a right place,
refreshing.
right time.
And
thing,
so it was something that nobody's seen, and that's what this world has
Yeah.
always been. Is like
Mhm.
gimmicky. So if you got something
Yeah,
that
you got
nobody
something,
has seen, it's like you can. He had his 25
Oh,
minutes,
yeah.
and then that was it.
I mean, he made
Yeah.
3 successful films, and then
And that's
And
more
then
than
he was
most.
also the cheeser in the Goofy movie, so
Well, you
so
know what?
cannot throw that away.
Right.
Since you said that, I don't take away anything I said about him because he's still trash. No, I'm playing.
do you guys ever see The Burbs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was literally just talking about that movie today.
Okay, so
Actually, yeah.
Patrick Van Horn was the teacher in Encino Man, and he was also the neighbor in The Burbs.
Yeah.
He was great. Even
That's
the
the
just
teacher
little
that was
piece.
teaching on the Cro-Magnon.
Yes, and I just
Yeah.
loved his
Teacher?
like.
Yeah, he's great. Like
he's
yeah.
got a presence about him. He's just
No,
funny.
totally. He's
When
like
I saw him,
I
the
was
first
talking
thing
about
I
that.
thought about was Scary Movie. He was in Scary
Oh,
Movie.
funny. Yeah.
He played the dad. He played like Sydney's father.
That's
Uh-huh.
He
right.
Yeah.
That's
was-
right.
He was like
Just
Uncle
checked
Escobar,
out,
like
like-
he did drugs and
Yeah,
he
it's
was
so
just
good.
the worst father
Yeah.
ever. So that's where I remember him from.
He's
But,
pretty great. Yeah.
He was also in Spaceballs,
That's right. He
Yeah.
played one
Uh-huh.
of the
Grizzly Guards.
space one of the Spaceballs, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't we go ahead and rate this? We do have 2 other movies to talk about, and I'm actually anxious to talk about Mrs. Winterbourne just because did not expect that movie.
I feel like we should start with our 12-year-old us's though.
Okay, let's start with 12-year-old
yeah.
us's, since this would have been all 3 of these movies will fit perfectly for 12-year-old us's.
Except for one.
And why don't we? She could round up.
Tuesday.
She could round up. It's fine. Mr. Marvelite, let's start with you. What did you think of Encino Man this time around?
Okay, again, Brendan Fraser, loved Brendan Fraser. Sean Astin was a jerk. Pauly Shore, like again, this is quintessential. Like I saw all this together. For me, this was one of those movies I could watch over and over again as a 12-year-old. And I did. I cannot tell you how many times I've watched this movie.
Thank you.
And so, um, thanks a lot. So I would probably say, first of all, let me just go ahead and do that since you did offend. I would probably say like 12-year-old me was this was a 10. This was like quintessential. I mean, this was up there with Ace Ventura, of course, Biodome, and I watched all the Pauly Shore stuff. Like this was like quintessential like 90s, like that early 90s, like just required watching for any,
Right.
kid that had nothing to do except for watch MTV all summer. And so yes, that it was a 10 for me. Now it's still got a place in my heart because of that past, but it's not as much of a rewatchable film. I would probably give this more like maybe a 6.5, 7.
All right. Still watchable, but
It's still fun because it's worth watching to see some of these characters. As much as like Dave was a
Right.
jerk, it's still Sean Astin, it's still Brendan Fraser. You
Yeah.
still have like there's it's amazing to see where these actors have come from and where they've gone. And for a period piece, like just kind of getting a good glimpse at the 90s is,
Yeah.
this is it.
Mhm.
They did I mean they embellished a lot, but not that much. So yeah.
all right. All the movie things.
Yeah, for 12-year-old me, yeah, I was like a 9. Really super into it. I don't think I saw it as much as Mr. Marvelite, but I did see it multiple
No
times.
one has. No one has.
Exactly. And yeah, and it was just like I was in that MTV era, where like I feel like that was like MTV's height was the 90s, and
Oh, it definitely was.
when they still
And then it
played
like peaked
music.
at Joe's apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made Joe's
apartment.
apartment and they stopped showing music videos. I don't anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, and then like today I'm like right there with Mr. Marvelite. It's probably a 6.5 for me. A lot of nostalgia. I think a lot of that has to do with nostalgia. Like I enjoyed it still. Like, but there are definitely things from a filmmaking perspective and like performance perspective, all kinds of things where I'm just like picking it apart more. You know, um, yeah, the Pauly Shore thing just really got old for me. I was just
Really
like,
fast.
man, yeah. And then it made me think of like, man, did I actually ever like Pauly Shore, or was it,
You just
or was
rode
it
the
just
wave, right?
yeah, exactly, or was I just like riding because like he was so popular at the time? So, but his character was a balance, the checks and
It was.
balances for
It was.
Sean, Sean's character. So, and Brendan Fraser is great. And it's just, I mean, it's when people think of Brendan Fraser's filmography, it's in there.
Yeah.
People think of Encino Man. So yeah, 6.5 for me.
All
Still
right.
enjoyable, but
But tapered. Black Girl
yes.
Marvel.
I think mine's on the same lines as the guys. 12-year-old me probably would have given it a 9 because like Brendan Fraser, looking good. And, plus when they cleaned him up, I was like, yeah. But I like some muddy though. But I like mud. I like some daddy muddy. I love him, but I like some muddy though because Aragorn is muddy, and I like my white boys muddy. So I guess that's what it is.
There's a song in there somewhere.
You know what? That's
Yeah,
Muddy
my
White
boy's
Boy.
muddy.
That's my new TikTok thing now. Muddy White
There you
Boys
go.
coming to a TikTok near
New
you.
series.
New series coming.
Muddy buddy.
Muddy zaddies. No, I can't.
Oh wow. I want to see this now.
You will, and I will name it Muddy Zaddies. So I will do that.
Or it's like, are they better muddy? Kind of thing. Like,
Actually, yeah. So we both their pictures.
like,
Muddy
yeah,
or not
show
muddy.
This is
non-muddy
strangely-
one. Like, yeah.
This is strangely an aside, but I hear you, Law, because when Uma Thurman is all muddy and bloody in Kill Bill Volume 2,
Hot.
there's
Isn't
something. There's something about it. I'm
There's
with
something
you.
about it. I can't.
Some
listen,
people they're when they're a little bit dirty. It's like
it could be a
Is that-
deep-seated thing where my dad was a carpenter, so he was always like dirty and muddy and like oil, like oil all over his hands. So it's like, yeah, maybe that's a thing that I got. I don't care if it is. I dig it, and I'm gonna lean into it. I'm leaning into the mud. Yeah,
I mean, Emily Blunt in Edge of Tomorrow.
Yup.
She's all dirty and like sweaty
Listen,
and like,
and honestly,
whew.
I'm gonna do both Muddy, Zaddy, and Daddies.
There you go.
Daddy, Daddy,
Yeah,
Mummies and
yeah.
Daddies. Muddy, Mummies, and Daddies. I'm gonna do it.
Wow, I love it.
Both, because some women are like beautiful. I'm just like, ooh,
The sad part is,
Mm.
this is dirty talk, but it's literally about mud.
It's literally
it
dirty.
is about mud.
Yeah.
Because think about it, like it's oil too. Because think about it,
It's like,
Elizabeth Olsen, and
let's talk about the mud
Hey.
now.
with the oil and the blood coming down her forehead, I was like, she's
Yeah.
kind of cute. She's cute. I'm like, okay. But 12-year-old me would have given this like a 9, because it's Daddy Fraser. So
Daddy
Dirty
Fraser.
Daddy
And then-
Fraser.
Daddy Fraser. It's
Yeah.
Daddy Fraser. Oh, B.
That
Tony
sucks.
sure won a Razzie for worst new service.
Congratulations. Yes.
Me now, I enjoy the film even if I don't like characters. I think sometimes I like a film because I don't like a character, because I feel like sometimes people try to make characters likable. To me, there's nothing redeeming about Dave. He doesn't redeem himself at all.
Yeah.
The only reason you were nice was because you were on probation and you couldn't leave the house. If you could have left the house, you would have went to the prom. Like, I don't think there would have been no other. He would have went. He probably would have sat in the corner, but he would have went. Like, nothing about him was selfless.
Right.
He didn't even learn halfway through the movie. People were still teaching him. I was just like, whoa, this is a badly written character.
Mhm.
For me now, I would give this like a 7, only because of Daddy Fraser. Okay, he to me he lifted this movie up, and it's because not only was it like fun, the music was fun, the stereotypes were not as fun because you got these 2 white boys being hip hoppers, and it's just like you could have just got some black people, but that still would have been worse. But
Yeah.
whatever, it just would have, but it still would have just fit in that high school. But I was just like,
Would you have seen that in Encino? Like, what wasn't that like a thing? Like, there was, I mean, the 90s was all about like cultural appropriation. Like, that was,
Oh no,
it was very much a thing.
it heavily was. Like, I don't knock a film for its cultural appropriation, because you when you know better, you do better. And they didn't know. They were just like,
Right.
this is what we do, and they just kept going, because I'm pretty sure there wasn't a black person writing on that script. I'm
No.
sure it wasn't.
No.
Sure it wasn't. Or a person of color, just to put that out there. But yeah, me now I'll give it a 7, because to me it's still watchable. It's a good story. Brendan Fraser is still top. So as Sean Astin,
He does a good
did
job.
You did the part justice,
Right.
man, because I don't like Dave.
Right.
Dave could have got hit by a car, and it could have been about Lincoln Stony. And I don't
But
like
you know
that.
what? We do
But
know
it's
that
cool.
Dave, even though Dave in this universe is terrible, we do still love Sam.
Then
Sam
why
White-
can't he,
oh,
man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't not
Honestly,
bring up Sam
I
without
think Dave-
bringing up
I
Sean.
think Dave grew up to be Sean
They
Astin's
were matching,
character
stick
in
him in the
50 First Dates. That's what I believe. He grew up to be that character in 50 First Dates, because he was a douchebag too, and trying to relive his glory days and all that other stuff. So yeah.
The one person we didn't actually mention through this whole
That's so
thing was
funny.
actually Michael DeLuise, the antagonist,
The
um, Matt. I hated
I thought
him,
him a
which
little.
means that he did a fantastic job at his job. He made me think,
Honestly,
what a douchebag. He
I
pulled it off.
I don't understand his obsession with this is what everyone is about any type of high school like bully type of film. If I'm not a threat, you wouldn't care about me. If you didn't think that I could take your girl, or you didn't think these things, why are you stalking me? Like, when they walked away to go find Link, why did you follow me? Like, why are you going to look in his, like, why do you care?
Because he's
Like,
threatened. Yeah.
why do you care?
Yeah. No, Dave threatened him, even though there's no real reason for us to believe there was, because she wasn't interested.
Exactly. But Link did eat that punch, though. I will say that. He was like, oh.
Can we just like this? This is a conversation that probably nobody has ever had. But why does Michael DeLuise look like he's related to Michael Bublé?
Honestly, I
know.
feel like all
If you
those
look at some of
related.
his pictures, like they're
Related
striking.
Dom
they
DeLuise.
are strikingly similar. They are strikingly similar. Yeah.
He does look a lot like him. Is he related to Dom?
Yeah.
I
He's,
think he's related
part
to
of the
Dom.
Dom DeLuise.
Yeah,
line.
the DeLuise clan. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. I mean the name obviously, but okay.
Yeah.
So for myself, I did see this in '92. I was 15, so I don't know what my 12-year-old self would have thought. 15-year-old self watched this movie in theaters a couple of times at least, probably a 10, no exceptions. I'm gonna have to agree. It's either a 6 or a 7. I think 6 is the lowest I would go, just because I do keep rewatching this film every so often. I do own it. I think that says something about how much you like a film. But it's, I think it'd still be interesting to go back after another 10 years and see even how much further the 90s is out of touch with
Oh my
today.
god, yeah. Very
Just to
much.
see, because it is. And I think that I know that a lot of the stereotypes were them trying to make fun of the era, but the movie doesn't
Yeah.
come off that way. It comes off as you were
Yeah.
culturally appropriating.
Yeah.
Even if you were trying to say, yeah, everybody in Encino is white and they're all culturally appropriating, it wasn't aware of itself enough to prove that. So,
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, for me, if these films weren't like that, we wouldn't see the progress.
Right.
So I'm mad that there has to be progress, but that's just life. Everything's progressive. So like everything has to progress.
Mhm.
So the fact that I can, it's 2022, and I'm like, yo, this wouldn't be made. If it was made now, it would be just made in a different way. There would be people of way
Yeah.
more people of color.
Mhm.
It would just be like, so if you had people doing these things, it would, and then you have people on the writing staff that were people of color, so it would just go. It would be a certain way that
Yeah.
would fit the era and the time, but not be cringe and disrespectful and culturally appropriating. So
It would be interesting to see a movie like Encino Man get remade, because it could. Like, this could easily be remade, and it would probably work. It's just, would they? And could you replace the
Mhm.
Stony character with somebody that could bring
It's,
something
it's
like
kind
that,
of
some
it's
gravitas
kind
like
of
that?
Stranger Things
yeah, yeah.
because Elle is definitely that person out of place that they kind of introduce everything to. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Avengers. It's Captain America. You know? Like,
On that really odd note, we're going to move on to the next
Wonder
movie,
Woman. What are you
which
saying?
is the next movie is, of course, Airheads. This is a 1994 film
Ooh, I
starring
struggled.
Brendan Fraser,
Struggled.
Billy Madison. Of course, I would say
Billy
that.
Madison.
Adam
Um,
Sandler.
Adam Sandler and Steve Buscemi, as well as another stacked cast. And all
Yeah.
three of these movies.
Ernie Hudson.
Yeah, Ernie
was in it
Hudson,
too.
Chris
Yeah.
Farley.
Chris Farley.
Yeah.
We got a lot of SNL folks in this
Which
one.
he was very underutilized, if I'm being totally honest.
I thought
Chris
his
Farley
character was
was-
pretty funny. I think they did a good job
But
making
I
him
felt
a
like he was
straight
under-
character, really serious
I thought
character.
he was underutilized. That's all.
No, that's
Chris
fair.
Farley. I kind of wanted to see him more. Not see him be like that crazy, like like that person, but I wanted to just. He was such a dedicated officer. I would have loved to see more of that because that was just funny to see.
An Airheads spinoff with just Chris
Yeah.
Farley playing the cop might have been interesting.
Yeah.
Trick question.
What's really odd is that there's even cameos in it that you don't expect, like the White Zombie is the band that they are
Yeah.
playing downtown, which means Rob's
Right.
in this movie before.
Rob Zombie.
You've got a young David Arquette with the blonde hair,
Yeah,
and he's
man.
playing a total stoner.
He was a great supporting or like background, whatever you want to call him, character.
Mhm.
He was, to me, he just played himself. He just seemed like he was just talking the words. Like this is just who he is. Like
Right.
he's having such fun.
Well, he plays the same kind of character in Buffy in the same, like 2 years earlier. So
yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Just non-vampires.
Judd Nelson playing a total soul patch carrying
Shout out to
douchebag.
Judd.
But this was
I
kind of
like
like when
Judd.
Judd jumped the shark. He kind of, his career had
Mhm.
gone in a different direction. So anyway, why don't we start with Black Girl Marvel? What did you think of Airheads?
Oh, this was rough. This movie was rough for me to get through. I was like, I remember seeing like maybe, if not a trailer on a VHS, bits and pieces on TBS. I don't know, something at TNT, something. I don't know. I think bits and pieces. I've never seen it, but it took me a minute to get through this. If I push play on something and I go immediately to my phone, it's over. It's just over. So I had to like really, really force myself to watch this. Initial reaction to watching this was, this movie dumb. And I mean that in the best way. Like I really do. I mean that in a really good way. It's just a nonsense film that somebody was like, let's make this. Like it's like, and let's put all like the rock music and stuff that we liked into it or whatever. Because even Kurt Lauder was in this, and I was just like, bro, like,
Yeah,
hello,
I know.
hello. And so it was a weird movie. It was honestly, it was nice to see Steve Buscemi not be like a mob boss or like somebody in a mob or
Or a
was like
weirdo?
henchman no, he was a weirdo.
Less weird than normal, I guess.
Mhm.
You know, you got fake guns full of hot sauce. You're a weirdo. Simple as that. Then it
Clever
was
idea,
nice being
though.
like, oh no, not
Yeah.
yet.
Mhm.
But it was nice. It was nice to see like Adam Sandler, because I felt like this was like right around his SNL type. If
Yep.
not after he left or right around
Oh,
the
yeah.
time he was.
This is way
on
before Billy Madison.
type
Yeah.
of-
Yeah.
yeah, like about
94,
you
so.
know. So it was nice to see like him. Also, it's weird that I've always been attracted to Adam Sandler. I guess I'm just like I was like, why am I
Mhm.
attracted to him? And then the movie was like, I don't know how he does it. And part of me was like, I don't either. Like, how does he do these things? Like, because his wife is beautiful. Not saying he couldn't like snatch him a beautiful woman or something like that. What
Right.
is Adam Sandler? Like, I don't know. I'm attracted. So this movie just made me a little bit more attracted. I was like, well, hello, sir.
Well, he's rocking some guns in
He's
this
a little
movie.
more. Yeah, he's pretty fit in this one.
Yeah.
I liked it, but I think I like the innocence of his character. He's just very simple. He's not like he doesn't overly think.
I don't want to go to jail.
I
I'm
don't know.
fragile.
Yeah, maybe I like my guys a little dumb. I don't know, but it was just great. It was just
Dumb
great
and
watching
dirty.
that.
Yeah.
You know, dumb and dirty. Yes, there go another one. There go another one,
Well, I
bro.
was gonna walk out
Dumb
with
and
5 TikToks after this show.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
I'm knocking out the TikToks, man. Look at all these ideas
Nice.
popping up. And then, of course, the cherry on top of the dirty zaddy cake is Brendan Fraser. His character was so into the rock and roll that I couldn't help but like feel for him. But also, I'm like, you are a goof troop and you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, Chester.
It's literally like he honestly was
Chester,
like
yeah.
this was like 8 Mile with Anthony Mackie's character, and you find out that he went to like Cranbrook, and you're like, you're not as cool as you say you are, and like
Right.
that was Chester's character, like Chaz's character, like your name is Chester. He used to be like in chess club and all this. Like it was,
He used to pick his nose and eat it in high school. He said.
No, literally. And I will say this though: the greatest band name ever is the Lone Rangers with an S. I think that's hilarious. I think that
the
was
way Joe Montenegro says it, the Lone Rangers.
Yes, because he wants you. And then also that too,
he
like,
died in that moment. That DJ had to die a little to say their name.
He died a little for that. He did, but who was the other person that was like? Oh no, it was Kurt Louder when he was like. Hey, the Lone Rangers. He was like, wait a second, that can't be true. Is it who put the like that was that recurring joke, which is funny to me. So like the movie it's unnecessary, but it's still necessary, I guess.
Yeah. All right. All the movie things.
I've seen this one multiple times too. And so this one's another like nostalgia kind of rewatch. And I haven't seen it in a while, so it's good to like check this one out and see how it stood up. And there's just some pretty fun and dumb bits in it. I mean, and there's like one of Adam Sandler's buddies is like this cop where he like when he comes out, he like does all the he's like basically he's like mimicking his like So that's it. He that buddy of his has been in.
That's the Grandma's Boy guy.
Movie. Yeah, he's in Grandma's Boy.
Yeah,
he's in every other Adam Sandler
movie.
movie.
He's in everything. Big Daddy. He's in all of them, man.
Yeah.
He shows up in some way.
Yeah. So that moment still like I get a kick out of that. So I think it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, there's a lot of like plot holes and a lot of things of like that are you kind of just have to hit the I believe button, and be like, okay, let's just get but I mean, Brendan Fraser's great in it though, because he's basically the straight man to, most everyone else. Chris Farley is great too. Like he's Chris Farleying up. And you got Michael McKean, that he's always great.
And playing a douchebag, he's usually a funnier guy than this. Like
yeah. So he's definitely a little more douchey. And plus it's like a lot of like 90s music in it, and kind of like I listened to like a lot of I listened to like everything, but it did like connect with me with that teenage rock music side of me that I was listening to a lot back then. And it was just I think this one hits similar to Encino Man in a way that like I loved it way more when I was younger when I watched it than now, where I can pick apart and like, especially after like having you like have a bigger appreciation for films in so many different ways now. And if you study film, you start to like look at these things a little different way and understand, okay, how much of this is nostalgia and how much of this is actually a good movie, like
right.
Right. So I was definitely looking at it from that lens as well, but also find myself being like, okay, there's still some moments that hold up, but
I feel like this was a Die Hard spoof. I feel like this was a spoof.
Mr. Marvelite, what did you think of Airheads? And was this your first time as well?
Yeah.
Oh no, I've
Okay,
No,
I thought not.
no, I yes, it was actually funny because when I first watched this film, it was a couple years later. I saw Billy Madison, and I'm like, this guy looks familiar. And it wasn't until I went back and watched Airheads again. I think it was on television, and I realized that Pip was Adam Sandler. I'm like,
Yeah.
this was like his first like big movie, I guess, like before he really kind of got his own on his
Did his
own.
own stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like Steve Buscemi was hilarious.
Mhm.
I loved how Adam Sandler just played the quiet, like stupid guy.
Mhm.
And it was funny though because the three of them, like, they had the most heart and they were the most down to earth of all of the group, and it was Stockholm
Yeah.
syndrome at its finest because like they really won over the majority of the people that they were holding hostage throughout this
Totally.
entire to the point
Right.
where like everyone was rooting for them, like
Even the
for the purpose.
DJ, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
Well, the
'cause
DJ
even, like,
became like their best buddy like after that.
No,
yeah, because
totally.
like
Yeah.
you really remember it because like he was getting tired of doing all this stuff. They were about to change over the
Mhm.
catalog for the radio station.
Yeah.
He was getting fed up because like he's been dealing with all of these jerks that are in the industry that are trying to use him to become famous. And he looked at them exactly that same way, but then it was just that they loved music, they
Mhm.
loved
Mhm.
performing, they just wanted to do what they loved, and like it completely won him over and gave him like a new lease on doing what he was doing, which I think was great because I've known DJs that have gone through burnout and
Oh yeah.
they go and do something completely contrary to what they've been doing, and
Mhm.
they have a resource of knowledge when it comes to what they have been doing for decades, and then they just go off into obscurity, and we're losing these people that have had this niche knowledge where
Yeah.
they should be like curators of like the Hall of Fames and stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
really, like these people, should have better recognition, but they don't. And so just kind of like seeing like how not only did these three guys like get into a circumstance of where the most outlandish outcome that they could possibly have performing it, like I literally it felt like watching um what was it the producers at some points because like at the end where they're doing Sing Sing and Sing Sing, and you've got to
Yeah.
play like it was like just like it like was a pull off of that, and you have like these all of these people that are being held hostage that are like utterly like angry and hateful of these guys to the point of where they're like rooting for them, and they work it out to how where they can actually help them find success.
Not Susie with
Um,
two Z's. She was right into that from the get go.
of
With
course,
two
because it was
Z's.
Susie with two Z's.
Yeah.
But no,
But
I
they
love
were
this
so
film.
cool. They were so cool.
And Pip,
Yeah, yeah, they were the best. They're the most heartfelt dumb guys you'd ever meet.
right?
Mhm.
But they were
So
nice too for taking hostages. They were very nice. Just saying.
for myself,
Yeah.
I got a like a Blues Brothers ripoff because it had that same like breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, and at the end they're celebrated, but they're in jail playing their music, and it felt very Blues
get that.
Brothersy.
Mhm.
Same concept, except there's three of them.
Mhm.
They had to do something to get their music out there, and of course that's what the Blues Brothers were always trying to do. I remember seeing this movie in theaters once. I saw it when it came out one time, and this was the second time I've seen this film.
Oh, wow.
But it's weird because I remembered the entire film because there's just not there's nothing to it. Like it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's just a joke machine. That's what this movie
Yeah.
is, and the jokes still hit. A lot of them still hit. There's some tasteless jokes that now are very dated.
Mhm. Right.
But ultimately, yeah, it was just fun to see a lot of these old SNL SNL actors doing something that you don't always get to see. It was nice, and the music that they played at the end wasn't as bad as you would expect for them to be so famous from. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't have as much fun as when I watched Encino Man. Thought it was
Hmm.
it was cute and it was fun, but I didn't, yeah.
Oh, the girlfriend to Aina's point. Yes, Zaddy deserves better because the girlfriend was terrible. She was just. I mean, even though I'm
Kayla.
not really.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
she was annoying. I'm not mad at her because it's just like it's one of those things where it's like I'm the one that works. You don't work, but you're trying to get your music, and I kind of believe in that. But I kind of just want you to be famous, or I'm famous too. So like you know everything. But like you can't sit here and not do nothing. Like you sitting here eating, watching
Right.
my TV. I come home, like I ask you. Then it's like you are just in total disregard of my stuff. Like you know what I mean? Like all my makeup is down the toilet now, and you don't care. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where it's just like I kind of get her, but then again, it's just like you want me because you think I'm gonna be famous one day. When she was in jail dancing with boy, I'm like, come on, man, that's not the standard, baby. Like stop the press. But yeah, she was annoying. I like Susie though. Susie with two Z's. I dig her.
So FYI, the Lone Rangers hit "Degenerated" was actually a 1980s punk song from a group called Reagan Youth.
Yeah, I've heard of that band, and that makes sense. That's better than it being some like movie knockoff, like
That's one of my
song
favorite
that
parts.
they
When
do.
Steve
Right.
Buscemi's character was gyrating in front of in prison, and I was just like, you might not want to do that.
So it was edited. It was edited for the TV. And like I think in the original cut, they were like the prisoners were grinning. For the TV cut, they had to cut to two different prisoners that were looking confused when they were watching.
Oh,
Yeah,
Wow.
it was just like,
They weren't ready for that on
I
television.
love
No.
movie cuts for television. That's
Oh,
one of my
man.
favorite things. You guys have heard
Terrible.
the Big Lebowski cuts for television?
I think
No.
so. I've
So
heard a
there-
lot of the Die Hard ones.
There's the
Die
one.
Hard
There's a
ones are
scene
terrible.
where John Goodman is destroying the Corvette, right?
Oh yeah, that's classic.
So, and
oh,
he says you never fuck a stranger. This is what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass. But in the
Yeah,
TV
yeah.
version, he says this is what happens when you cross a stranger, or come across
In
a
the
stranger in the
Alps.
Alps, which is like,
Yeah.
what?
Okay,
And he just
if you-
repeats that over
listen,
and over.
Right.
honestly,
if
TV
that's
edits are
hilarious to you,
hilarious.
I promise you, you need to find one of those old TV filtering things, the Clear Play,
Mhm.
where it cuts out the profanity or any like uses of the word God, and it puts in something in the subtitles to replace it. Those
Mhm.
like we literally watched Conspiracy Theory, watch it with that on, and just died laughing the entire time.
Honestly, I would have to research this, but watch any like black film that's based in like the hood, I guess what the kids call it
Oh,
nowadays.
man.
Anytime they say stuff, those words are always like, "Hey man, hey sucker," and it's like that's not what they're saying. But you're trying to give us something along these lines, and I'm just like,
Oh,
oh my
man.
gosh, it's so like, because a lot of movies that I watched growing up, my dad had these movies. This is why I love movies. Like my dad had all these movies, and then I would be watching TV, and I'll be like, oh man, they coming on! Like I'm excited, and then I'll go watch it and be like, I ain't got this copy. This is not like
Yeah, what is this?
what is this? Because they and then it's not the same voice. And again,
Oh,
you
yeah.
see how far things go, because now they actually make stuff like that. They make stuff like that where they actually have the actor come in and like cross their own voices, or they'll get somebody that's very similar to the actor's voice
Yeah.
and kind of cross it, so it kind of cleans it up.
Tom Hanks'
bit
brother
more.
will come in and do it for him.
Come on, exactly.
It's people who are like extremely conservative in like their watching, not
Yeah.
understanding that the TV edit for Police Academy is nothing like the release.
Oh my God! Listen, I feel like this. I'm happy we got these streaming things now, because 9 times out of 10 you're gonna put it on some type of streaming thing, and you're just gonna leave it alone, and it's gonna be a thing.
Mhm.
But before then, I used to always say, don't put this on TV if you're not gonna just play it, because
Yeah.
you either cut at the
They
wrong time.
couldn't.
Oh my
You
god.
either
Yeah.
cut at
Yeah,
the
the
wrong
FCC
time.
wouldn't let
The
them.
caster. Yeah.
They would not let them be. I mean, let's face it.
I know they would let them be. So don't put it on TV,
There's
because you
something
either
on TV then.
cut at
Yeah,
the wrong
but see, that was the
time.
thing.
Oh yeah.
That was the thing.
or
There was a
you
cult
voice
following for
over
Police
wrong.
Academy on
Oh
television.
my gosh.
Like there was a following for that. Like they did well with those TV edits. Like that was like a big reason why they did better with, I think, their movies, was like people fell in love with them on television. They just would go buy the VHS tape and then freak out because it was so
It's just not the same, man. I used to hate
No,
that growing up.
To your
Yeah.
point, Law, they've done a good job with like streaming services like Tubi, where they actually wait for the
Yes.
scene change and will then cut.
Because
Well, you
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
like watch
Yes.
something on Voodoo, listen, you need to change this right now.
yeah.
Don't cut in the middle of a scene, especially when you're in the build up. I don't want to see a
Oh,
character's
gee.
Listen,
like you're going to cut emotion
Voodoo-
right in the middle. Come
Oh,
on.
my
Voodoo,
God.
yeah, Voodoo cuts when somebody's in the middle of a sentence.
Right.
If it was like the Avengers, he'll be like, I can do this, and the next time you decide to pick up the like, it'd be
Yeah.
like,
That's right.
what? And then it'll come back like all day, and you'd be like, this is not.
You're like, what scene was I in? I don't even
All
know.
day.
Yeah, it would
I
feel
don't
really
know
weird.
what this is. Yeah, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
should Should we rate and go to the third movie?
It feels like we kind of pushed away from this movie pretty quickly. What's odd is this movie is rated higher on IMDb than Encino Man, but at least Encino Man, there's nothing, I don't know, there's not even like a moral thing to talk about with this movie. It's literally about breaking the law. I guess it's a rock and roll movie, so it makes sense. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
You did. You're a hostage, and then you get a real gun and give it to the hostage.
You did mention it though, in your like, as you were kind of talking about it though. You kind of talked about like, it's really about, because what that radio station was trying to do was they were changing over the format, and what the band was trying to do, like they just wanted to like be true to themselves.
Real rock and roll.
Also, they wanted to do what they're passionate about.
Right.
They wanted like, so I think, and that's what it is about. It's about being true to your passion and just doing something that you're passionate about and just getting it out there.
Doing it 100%. Even if it means using
100%.
fake guns to take hostages. Do it.
Yeah.
But honestly, if we're gonna be true, but they be very honest about that, they kind of fell into that essentially. Like even though he pulled off
that was not their intent.
That was not their intent. Like I really feel like
anything that could have gone bad went bad for them. That was just
well, yeah. I mean, you would have a movie
like on top of itself. Like he just like kind of like fell into it because they were so dumb that they didn't even realize they were still on air during these things. And I really feel like if they didn't think that they were on air, they probably wouldn't have. Steve Buscemi's character would have never pulled out the gun. But he just didn't realize. He was like, because Chaz later was just like, "Are we still on air?" And he was just like, my
Joe's like, "Yeah, right there."
Yeah,
it's right there. But shout out to Joe Mantegna because I'm so used to. I've seen him in things, but I don't remember them. The biggest thing I remember him from is Criminal Minds.
Right. Well, I mean, he's been on for so long.
My God, he's been everywhere. But like that's what So when I saw him in this, I was like, well, this is a different side of you.
Totally.
What's happening here? So I was very invested in his character.
Funny.
Because honestly, when he speaks, I just like listen. I just pay attention when he speaks. So like, I was excited to see what his character. I was like, he's playing like a rock and roll like disc jockey. I was like, that's pretty cool. I didn't mind that.
I'll give you that. I think he did a great job. I mean, everybody did their part well. I don't think anybody did bad in this film. I just don't think that it was necessary.
Was Michael Richards' character necessary?
I'm going to give, as much as, his history and everything we know about him at this point, his slapstick in that film was pretty solid. I think that his physical humor kept a couple of those slapstick jokes rolling, but looking back, it doesn't look as good.
I like when he was on the phone. I like when he was on the phone and he was like hoarding food, trying to talk to the guy, and he's like underneath the table and stuff like that. And he's just like, yeah, huh? And this guy is just talking to him about his life. It's like, can you get me out of here? I don't care about your girlfriend catching you or whatever it is. Like, honestly, these cops were the GCPD. I don't care what nobody say. They were in Gotham. Because the things that they got away with, this was Gotham level police work. Okay.
The cop that played head of SWAT is really funny because whenever I see that actor, I think of of Total Recall and I think of Quaid. Or Quaid, the thing that comes out of the dude. That's the only thing I can ever remember. There were 2 cameos that we didn't mention. Beavis and Butthead are in this film, which was interesting.
Yeah.
And then Harold Ramis. Harold Ramis made a cameo, which was nice to see.
Which
is
the
great.
record executive
who was actually a cop,
undercover cop,
which is great.
Cop, I'll keep saying it. I love me some Ernie Hudson. He hasn't aged a day. Okay?
Yeah, he still has a great voice.
2 out of the 4 Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So, like we did mention Rob Zombie, but did anybody notice that the lead singer of Anthrax was actually in this movie for like a split second?
Oh, damn.
I would have to know these bands to recognize that, so no.
Fair enough. Anthrax was a pretty heavy metal band back in the 90s. So, we can definitely rate this. Why don't we?
I've been vaccinated for Anthrax.
Yeah, I said they sound sick.
I think I have too.
Yeah.
They do sound sick. You're not wrong. Mr. Marvelite, what do you rate this film?
12-year-old me, 8. It was an 8. Me now, I probably would say kind of the same with Encino Man a little bit. Some things are dated, but it's still a lot of fun. So like 6.57. I'm gonna go with.
All right. Lala, Black Girl Marvel.
I really want to say I wasn't heavy into rock and roll around 12, but that's kind of a lie because I did like Empire Records and my dad listened to everything under the sun. So Empire Records was my favorite film. And my dad listened to everything. So it's like I enjoyed it. I don't think I would have gotten too far into this movie but I think I would have watched it because I usually watch stuff to its entirety. So 12-year-old me probably would have been like, she would have saw Zaddy, so she would have probably given this like an 8 or something, probably like an 8 because it just seemed it's a fun film for the most part, and people acting kooky, and I was weird as a child.
So I've got to ask because in the first movie you were talking about Zaddy being Brendan, and in this movie you're talking about Adam being Zaddy. So which one does it for you more in this film? Is it Adam?
Oh, in this film, it's got to be Zaddy Adam because Zaddy Sandler is Zaddy Sandler because I'm sorry, that wig, Adam Zaddy. You know what I'm saying? Zadam. No, Zadam.
We'll take all of the above.
Yeah, because Brendan Fraser's hair to me was just, it threw me off. That wig was, woo, buddy. I was like, when he took his bandana off, I was like, why did you do it? That was the only thing keeping that together. But yeah, so Adam Sandler will be Zaddy. But me now, it was a decent little film. As a person that's going for her dreams, I can mess with them. Like, go for your dreams, man. I ain't going to jail for this. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not going to prison for my acting and be doing screenplays in my orange jumpsuits. But I like the message of like, yo, just, you know, go for your dreams and go hard. Not too hard, but go hard. Me now, I'll give it a 7. I'll give it a 7. Yeah. No, I take it back. I give it a 6 because I ain't watching it again. So I'll give it a 6.5 because I'm not watching this again. But yeah, I'll give it a 6.5.
So if somebody put it on in front of you, you wouldn't argue.
I would try to fall asleep. So,
just feel like, let me get on my phone.
Yeah.
For myself, I would definitely say that this is would have been an 8 when I saw it in theaters. It was good. It was funny. I laughed, and then now I think it's probably a 5, right in the 5 range. How about you? All the movie things.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines as Mr. Marvelite with this one. Again, like, yeah, like it was probably like a 9 when I saw it. You know, 8 or 9 when I was like 14, and super into it. And then again, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I can pick apart, but still had a lot of fun, like looking back on it. And yeah, I'd say it's a 7 for me.
All right.
Yep.
Respect.
I didn't give a 12-year-old rating just because I was 18 when this came out, so
right.
I don't know what my 12-year-old self would have thought.
The current 12, I guess, right?
I guess it is a kind of like, well, at least from our perspective at this age, it's like the current 12. No offense to 18-year-olds. You guys are awesome still. You'll get there.
No, y'all not.
You'll get there. So we are going to move on to the final movie of the evening, and that is a pick from Black Girl Marvel, and it is the movie Mrs. Winterbourne. By the way, this was a culmination between Bats McSkelly and Black Girl Marvel on the Brandon Fraser evening. The reason Airheads was picked was because Bats had never seen it, so I figured, gotta make her watch it. So, but anyway, Mrs. Winterbourne. This is a romantic comedy, so it was 3 comedies tonight. This one stars Ricky Lake, Brendan Fraser, in 2 roles, Shirley MacLaine, and then I will say his name all wrong. Give me a second. I'm going to ruin this completely.
Mr. Winterbourne.
I can't wait.
But let's go ahead and start with all the movie things. What did you think of Mrs. Winterbourne?
Oh, you don't want to start with me. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yes,
no,
you
sorry,
do.
Lala.
Too late.
No,
Too late doing it.
No,
Oh,
too
man.
late. Yes, we do. Ruin it.
I know.
Ruin it.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Miguel
Yeah.
Sandalvo, by the way.
Oh yeah.
That's not
Oh
bad.
yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
This one
Sandoval,
wasn't.
though.
This wasn't for me. The Ricky Lake. Yeah, she was terrible.
That's hilarious. I love it.
I didn't
love
feel like they
everything
had
about
any
it.
chemistry whatsoever. Yeah, it was kind of an odd role for Brendan Fraser in the way that like it was. I don't know. It just didn't feel. I just felt very neutral from him, like compared to like Encino Man, and I mean, especially when you compare all 3 of the films, But just I felt like there's more energy from the other characters he did, and yeah, this one was just tough to get through a little bit, just because like, I mean, it. I know. I'm sorry. It's just, man. I mean, this is my first watch of it too, so
I needed a moment. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
I left in solidarity. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was just hard to get
I
through.
respect
It wasn't for me. I can. Yeah, I tried to like find. I mean, Shirley MacLaine's great. I mean, she kind of just shows up, you know.
She's
and
Shirley
just
MacLaine.
yeah, exactly.
She brings it in everything
And
she does. So
yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah. I kind of like. I wonder if I almost wonder if maybe Ricky Lake was like a miscast. Like I feel
Maybe
like
if it was a different actor, you probably would.
yeah. I just wasn't. Man, it was almost like she was very like she was too theatrical because I know she does have experience like doing
Mm-hmm.
theater and Broadway
Theater.
stuff,
Yeah.
and it felt very much like she was kind of like because
Hamming it.
yeah exactly like she was kind of going over the top a little bit. I was just like,
Mhm.
you're on camera, like bring it down a notch. You know what I mean?
It was
Like
it was
so
the it was the breathy like dramatizing how she like did things.
yeah
It was like she
yeah
was like, you know.
yeah
Yeah.
exactly yeah. So but yeah,
so yeah,
I'll
just
stop there.
just
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
How about you, Mr. Marblake?
You mean like we're gonna do this twice? Like
That's hilarious.
I'm gonna be honest
No.
with you. The best acting from Brendan Fraser was before was it Bill died?
So
Like
Hugh's character.
Hugh.
Oh,
That's
Hugh's
scary.
character.
Oh,
Yeah,
Hugh,
yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
like
I
you
would
can tell how much
agree.
I really didn't care. Like I
Yeah.
every time I've watched this film, I've been made to watch this film. I'm gonna be very honest with you.
That's
Because
hilarious.
and the problem was as soon as I turned it on, I'm like, oh, I remember this film, and then I stopped and go, wait, was that a Hallmark movie or no, that was the other Hallmark movie. Wait, was this? No, that was another Hallmark movie. Like
Mhm.
literally, like Hallmark would have like Lurky Lake, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have any kids that have like caused you to go to jail because you bribed your way to college, right? You know, it's like that kind of thing. Like literally, like I feel like, and this is the thing. Like I realized I loved Ricky Lake as Tracy Turnblad in the original Hairspray until I watched
Mhm.
it when I got
Right.
older,
Yeah.
and then I was made to watch this, and I enjoyed it because it was out of necessity because I was there. It was like it was okay to watch. Again, it was very much of a passable film. Like I there were parts that I enjoyed about this, but at the same time, the word trope could not be emphasized enough on. I feel like we have seen
Mhm.
this movie over and over again. I mean, like, at one point I'm sitting there thinking this is like this if we would have made this more modern, it would be how while you were sleeping. Or,
Mm.
you know, there are so many different versions of this film. And mind you, this could have been the OG for it in a sense. And again, this is based off of
A book.
a crime
Yeah.
novel, which knowing that I want to read the book now because like they took
Oh,
it on like
wow.
the drama of like, oh, it's like a fairy tale
Mhm.
thing. Where did the crime part go in? Like
In the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, it's like in the
Yeah.
beginning
yeah.
and the end of the movie.
Yeah.
That's it. It's
Yeah, pretty much
bookended.
it.
like, oh
Like,
look,
yeah.
you're there. Like the guy
And
didn't
it's
want anything to do.
love in
Like,
the
it was
middle.
just like
Yeah.
between the pure tropish like Jersey, you know,
Right.
relationship, the
Mhm.
sleazy guy, you know, I think that train scene before the accident like was my most enjoyment. Like I
Mhm.
loved the interaction between, you know, Hugh and his wife and Ricky Lake's character. Like I thought that was cute. And I would
Mhm.
have loved to have seen more of that. And then the rest of the movie was the train wreck.
Ah, I
for me.
see what you did there.
Oh, that was nice. That was
But
nice.
I mean, again, it's not. I don't hate this film. It's just,
You hate it.
not.
That's
It's
cool.
not one of those films I would want to
Yeah.
watch. And it's not to say anything bad against it. It's just
You hate it. You
there
hate
are
it.
films in my lifetime that I have been made to watch because I have people of the opposite sex in my household, and I'm okay with that. Just yes.
He's
So,
like never do it again.
but if you love this
Never
film,
do it again.
I'm glad you do. I'm glad there's an audience. Thank you.
So after those two initial takes, I think I'll jump
Yeah.
in here.
Yay, City.
This was a breath of fresh air to me. I enjoyed this film more than the other two, actually. As much as this is the fantasy film of the entire bunch, this is the most unrealistic. I believe in
No,
Encino Man
totally.
more than I believe this film because a bunch of white rich
Yeah.
people giving away anything is hard to believe.
And the mother-in-law being kind.
Well, you know, it's Shirley MacLaine, so it's easy to believe in that way. But at the same time, you're right. Yeah, like why would she just be like, you know,
The worst. I've ever
yes,
seen.
I don't know. But I'm the opposite of what Mr. Marvelite said. The scenes up to the train wreck, I was like, what the hell is going on? What is this movie? I don't even understand what's going on. It was very jarring,
Whatever it
very
was, I wanted
quick.
it.
Right, and that's fine. But to me, once we got past that and established this was a rags to riches kind of story, I started going, wow, this is like and I'll give you the Hallmark thing. It has a Hallmark-ish feel, but it was like the Hallmark version of Pretty Woman without the prostitution. But she's basically out of her, fish, duck out of water, or fish out of water. She was what?
No prostitution, but there was a hustle.
There was a hustle. There was definitely her trying to pretend like she was somebody else, her getting to redo herself.
She didn't do it for the money. She literally did it so that her kid grow up like she grew up. Like, so it wasn't like the.
And even then, it was much more like Airheads, where she didn't mean to. Welcome, Smash Brothers. Thank you for the raid. We really appreciate it. But it wasn't just that she. Just did this. She was thrown into it because the hospital made a big mistake, and so she kept trying to explain herself over and over again, and couldn't. Everybody stop her. I know. And that nurse, dude,
you're not the real person. Hold on a second.
That nurse was just vicious. I got a lot of bad vibes from that nurse.
I could think of a couple hospitals she works for.
I'm trying to remember the actress because I swear I know the actress and she's been in stuff before. But anyway, I digress.
She came from the Nurse Ratched School of Nursing,
right? Because she was just like every time Ricky started or Connie started to get a little hyper about what was going on, they were just like, drug her quick, let's knock her out. But
she's having a traumatic experience. Which, if somebody got in a train wreck, you probably would drug them.
Well, and she apparently, if you watch the preview, she had the baby in the train wreck. The baby was actually born there, but they didn't put that in the film, which I thought was interesting. La, this was your pick. Tell us.
Well, no, I love this film. I remember being in my house when I lived in the city, and I was looking for something to watch when I was a kid, and we had all these VHSs, and I saw this VHS that had Brendan Fraser in it, and this was like, I might have been like 11 or 12 because like The Mummy had already come out, I knew who he was and things like that. The Ricky Lake Show had already come out, I already knew who she was, and I was just like, they were in a movie together. I was like, what? I was like, I didn't know she acted. I was like, what do you mean? and so I put this VHS in, and my girly brain was just like, this is amazing. I love this. Because I kind of saw myself in Connie as somebody that wasn't like the best looking or the best dressed or however it is, but then somebody as cute as Brendan Fraser's character like liked her for her and not for what. I mean, she had to take a shower, cut her hair, but still, like, that's normal stuff. Like, that's just how you, you know, that's just how you think. So like for me to see that, I kind of latched on to that character, and then as I got older and I kept watching it, I just think it's a cute little meet cute. It's a cute, simple meet cute. There's nothing extra about it. There's nothing. I'm kind of like with Snippets, and I love that we're like split right down the middle. I'm with Snippets. The beginning of it is kind of like meh. And then once she wakes up in the hospital, to me, that's when the actual story starts. That's when the actual piece starts to begin. I love seeing the duality of Brendan Fraser as an actor. He goes from like this kind of like long, bushy-haired, free type of person to you see him as his twin is the exact opposite. He's more cold. He's more, he's more business. He's more this. Then you get into the storyline of their characters, and you start to realize that like he wishes he could be more like his brother. He just doesn't know how. And Connie's character opens that up in him because their interactions could have been stronger. Like could have been stronger in the sense of like there could have been more of them, but they had that whole like I don't like you but I like you thing that people did in the 90s a lot. And so and honestly, that's how I grew up living my life with people. I would be like, I would pick on people or like pick on guys that I liked or vice versa. Like that resonated with me as a kid because I'm like, that's what we did. That's how I showed you. I pushed you. So,
remember, she still picks on us. So just saying.
Exactly. So if I stop picking on y'all, then I should tell you that. So and it's just like so. Like to me, it was just like I don't know. I just like thoroughly enjoyed this. I love this. I love the singing. I love that like it's kind of like different from rich families that you usually see because Shirley MacLaine's character they start off rich. So to me, that lends to her character opening up her doors to somebody that she's a little off of. Also, she's grieving her son. So she's going to take anything that she's going to take anything for the. She was like, I don't care if she's a Colombian drug lord. We're going to make sure. It's like it's already established that like she found Paco on the street, like, and brought him in. So like
Paco.
she's generous. Like she's like, and I love Paco. I love that like he raised these two little twin boys when the father was just like MIA and then eventually like gone. And like I don't know, I just love because it's not the typical rich, like Brendan Fraser's Bill is a typical rich, snobby, kind of like, gatekeepy type of character, but everybody else isn't. And I love that. And I love when she was like, I'm gonna drop the F-bomb. I love when she was just like, oh, fuck off. And then
Shirley MacLaine said it too. I laughed so hard.
Like, I love that because it's just like any other time, Ricky Lake's character would have got reprimanded for not being better. You know what I mean? In a movie. And then in this one, she wasn't. It was just like she had an ally where she's never had an ally because she talked about her father and her didn't get along. She barely, she didn't know. Yeah. She missed her mom. Her mom was dead. So to be amongst these strangers from the start of her little journey who accepted her and was just like, okay, I was just like, that's the human nature you want to see as opposed to the human nature that we do see. So this is like one of my favorite films. Like I love this.
Wow.
I watched it all the time. Like all the time.
Really?
I will be watching it again, honestly. I didn't expect that I would like this movie, and I ended up thinking, no, I'm going to watch it.
Jump to this screen, Tony.
What? I am not being condescending in any way.
You're not.
And honestly, you brought it up. You brought it up a couple levels from what I thought just by you like talking about the things like Like it definitely like you I think what happens is sometimes like when with a certain genre, like I lose interest. I miss the inner workings that make it special for other people. And so it's nice to hear it from somebody else. And where this is like a 4 for me, it's now a 5. It's that kind of thing where
if I could pump your
exactly like
rating up a little bit, I did my job, man.
That's the thing. Like so don't jump me. I'm on your side. I like it. Just it's one of those things where it wasn't for me. And like again, it's like it's not the genre. Like there are 2 types of movies that I typically avoid. Like it is for 2 different purposes. There's the rom-com or the romantic movies and the horror films. And for the romantic movies, it's because it's just not something that I'm interested in. Can I sit through one and watch it and enjoy it? Yes, I can. It's never going to be on my rewatch list because I honestly, most of these movies, like the entire fear of being caught and all of that stuff brings so much anxiety to me. I literally have to walk out of the room. So I miss a lot of the film.
Yeah. I mean, you're not Mr. Romance, like you're Mr. Marvel.
Or it's like Mr. Ricky Lake. I can't do it. And like for horror films, I consciously have to avoid them because I have to get myself in a mindset to watch them typically. It's never like, oh, let's throw on a horror film. It's like me, it's throw on a Marvel movie for no apparent reason. Right.
Black Phone would have given you so much stress last week. It's not even funny.
Oh my God.
Listen, I actually was disappointed. I was offered an early screening for Black Phone and I wanted to do it. I didn't work my workout. And so I had to miss it. And I had to
would have been anxious.
It was the one time where I had the tickets in my possession.
But maybe it will surprise you too.
People and say I can't do it. So.
Yeah, that's messed up, man. But yeah, this is like one of my favorite films. I will always revisit this film. To me, this film made me fall in love with Brendan Fraser even more. I just love his subtleties as a character. As Bill, go from like I don't trust her to I love her simply on the basis of who she is as a person. Because he thought he had her when he was like, when the whole will scene, when she was like putting you and the baby in my will, and the moment she was like, hey, yo, I don't want your money, he was like,
no, she's not here for the money. She's here for the right reasons.
You know what I mean? So like to me, I think that's when he loved her. He was like,
I'm not here for the money, but I know the money's coming.
Yes,
yeah, she didn't have a problem cutting that $50,000 check though.
But it was to keep her. But it was to keep it safe. It was to keep her and her baby safe, though.
That ring at the end, though, like as soon as I saw that ring and I saw the inscription on the inside, I'm like, I don't think I would want that ring.
Because it's not the same ring. It's a copy.
It's not the same ring. Right. But the thing is, like, I would want something vastly different because I know that's the style of ring that the dead couple had.
Yeah,
they were living kind of dead couple adjacent, though. Like they were.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, right? Remember
little
on
bit.
the train, because this is the way I think about it. On the train, the chick was like, Patricia, the real Patricia, was like, she was like, oh, try it on. She's like, isn't that bad luck? She's like, I don't have bad luck. That ring brought Connie good luck, so I
Yeah.
will keep
But
that
it
ring.
brought
But it
Patricia.
brought, yeah, but you know,
Yeah.
hey,
She Patricia, but it brought Connie
I mean,
good
the
luck.
universe has to
Connie
balance
got a
itself
whole
out somehow.
family.
Right. On that
Connie got a
note,
whole-
Yeah.
this movie has a weird twist I didn't expect. I did not know who the actual killer was, as much as I should have put that together. I liked
love that
that
she
it.
was
I
there.
liked
I
that
did
it was
kind of see that
kind of
coming.
fun
Yeah. But
that they got to have that ridiculous ending.
Yeah.
But why did she go to a train station to leave town? I would have never gotten on another train for the rest of my life.
yeah, that was a good point.
It's just
Honestly,
weird.
especially her baby.
Yeah, I'd be
I've been
super traumatized.
Right.
Like, yeah,
I've
Now-
been traumatized.
PTSD. Like, yeah, the whole.
There's
Can I
nothing
say,
She ended up with another rich family.
And you never know, though. She's
Just
lucky, man.
bouncing
If
from
she
family.
had
That's
that-
true.
if she had
She's
that
lucky,
ring on
yeah.
her,
You find out there's actually a deeper story where Ricky Lake's
She
character
had
actually
that
went
ring
around
on it,
from train
though.
to train and weared other people's rings.
honestly, that'll
One
be
ring.
I would
Yeah.
rule them all. I wouldn't mind that story, but can I say that on I would say every few
That's where
weeks,
M Night got the idea for Unbreakable.
maybe every
Love
honestly,
that.
I love it. Every few weeks, I'll say every few months, I always say, "Oh, you're the bitch in the rain with the quarter." I always say that for no apparent reason
That's funny.
because that's just
Yeah,
I just
that's
love
a
the way
deep
she
cut,
said it. That's a deep
man.
cut, man. Nobody knows it but me.
No one's gonna know
So I
that.
can have fun by myself and I say it. So
Okay, and then like the homeless guy who gives her the moist towelette and then all of a sudden disappears after recommending she get on the train.
I feel like
That was fate.
Oh.
That
I
was
feel like that was
character.
an
That character
angel.
was
Yeah.
fate.
like okay, because Aina says that she's I think she said that like her mom was with her the
Was
entire
watching
time.
over
I
her,
really
yeah.
while her mom was watching over her. I really because my mom personally has been in situations where she was out somewhere late at night. Her car popped a tire and it was like pitch black, and she was trying to figure something out. And she says a guy just appeared, helped her change her tire, and then when she went to turn to say thank you, he was nowhere to be found. So to me, and so to her, she was like,
Man,
that was an
yeah, that's-
angel because we're Christian, so like that's an angel. You
Uh-huh.
can't no other to me. There's no other way to explain that. He didn't run down the street and turn a corner like he just
Yeah.
for me, like that's an angel. So for me, when that happened, I was like, that's like an angel that's pushing her in the right direction. Like
Yeah.
her mom was like pushing her
So
in the right direction.
the fact that you brought that up reminded me of a scene where they're doing the christening, and she's feeling overly guilty because she keeps trying to explain herself and it's
Yeah.
not working. But then they did that great shot, kind of zooming in on Jesus's face, and it just like she's like, okay, I'm not struck by lightning, and she can move on. To the scene with the
Yeah, 'cause
train
that's
tracks.
the real Geiger meter there. It's like you have to trigger like
It is the meter. The train scene when she is going to leave, that trope is so ridiculous because it's used over and over and over again. Is she or is she not going to leave? Right? That's the ridiculous trope. But I think this
Yeah.
movie did a pretty good job of the way they shot it. Was as soon as the train went by, it was dark enough, and your eyes focused on the center of the screen. And if you look at the center of the screen, she's not there.
So see that you see
She's
on the
over
corner.
here, which I thought was. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay. So like they played this trope all the way to the standard end, but kind of subverted us to the last second, which that's
Yeah.
cute.
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to see it
I like
anymore nowadays. I'd rather see that trope just put away.
Just tuck that trope away. Just tuck it away.
There's a
you guys.
lot of them that I would like to see
Yeah.
them tuck away
I
at this
mean,
point.
My favorite scene is the tango scene because one, I like Paco when he's like sad over the boyfriend, and I love that it's like everybody in the family knows he's gay and it's not a big to do. It's just like he's gay and he gets his heart broken from time to time, and this is what he does. He gets drunk, he gets plastered, and he goes to the pool and starts dancing or something like that. So like I love that, but I love the scene between him and between Zaddy Frazier and Ricky Lake because in the kitchen when they're like dancing, because I to me that's a picture of kind of like what like intense. to me that's like a picture of like what intense like and lust kind of is, because it's like I've kissed somebody and been like, yo, that was a really good kiss, and like to see that played out on screen for me, especially at a younger age, I thoroughly enjoyed that because I've had that feeling before. And I was like, oh, okay. So like that's like one of my favorite scenes because Brendan Fraser's face just plays that scene very well. Like it's like he's never been kissed. Either he's never been kissed before or he's never felt that from a kiss before. and
Mm.
I enjoyed his believability.
Mrs. Winterbourne even says it. You broke Bill out of his shell, and nobody's ever been able to do that. So, we are
She said she didn't think anybody. She said she had never thought she'd be able to see that.
right.
So
We are
that's
all
a
but
lot.
out of time. So why don't we do a quick rating?
All but out of time. I love it.
Mr. Marvelite decided to just leave, and we'll hopefully get him back in the next second or two. Why don't we just rate real quick?
He said be
all the
right
movie
back.
things.
He'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All the movie things.
We're gonna do 12-year-old.
You can.
Okay.
Okay.
I probably would
If it
not have
works.
watched this as a 12-year-old me, but I know, I'm sorry. But I give this. I will say, like, listening to Lala, you know, and you kind of like break down a lot of stuff. I'm in the same boat as Marvelite, where it's just like, okay, I wasn't necessarily picking up on that stuff. This is my first watch too, you know, so it's so it kind of bumped it up a little bit, but I'm gonna give it a 5.5.
I mess with it. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I've been watching this for years, you guys. I got
Right.
years in.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Same order, Mr. Marvelite.
Yeah, I would say, if you haven't ever seen it, definitely watch it. If you know, especially if you like this genre. Of course, for me, this is where I feel like a dude bro, because it's like I don't like this kind of stuff at all. I really feel like my horizon sometimes is limited. I try, but you guys
It
stretch
definitely
me.
is.
I've
Avoid
been
the
stretched.
movie Warm Bodies. It's a romantic horror comedy.
Actually, I liked Warm
So when you blend them, you're okay with it. Okay, I
because
got
they're
you.
like the most is like the most anxiety was, oh, I ate your boyfriend. Like, come on, like that was like I was okay, but I also read the book first, so I was ready
He
for it.
Ah,
That was
I
the only
see.
thing. I was really disappointed because the book was so much better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say this is a 5 for me. It's definitely worth a watch. Mind you, it was a little bit harder to watch for a second time, especially after I realized I had seen this before. It's very tropey, but at the same time, if you are an individual who likes those romantic things and you like Brendan Fraser and you like, you know, kind of like kind of breaking the mold in some cases, especially when it comes to a rich family, this is a good film to watch. Just yeah, not for me.
All right. La.
Um, 12-year-old me, because I did see this like around that age.
Funny.
12-year-old me. It's like 12-year-old me wanted to be in this world. You understand? 12-year-old me wanted to be Ricky Lake, and 12-year-old me wanted to fall in love with that character. Like, I love it. Me now, I'll give this a solid 9, because there are things about it that's like maybe some stuff could have been fleshed out. Maybe, you know, direction would have been better. You know, Ricky Lake was like very new in acting, so I definitely get that type of stuff. But I'm gonna still give it a 9. It still gives me the warm and fuzzies during certain parts, and I could probably play this movie out scene by scene. I've seen it, especially since I was like, and everything.
Wow.
So yeah, I'll give this like a 9. So.
All right. 12-year-old me would have never touched this with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't. I have grown to love romantic comedies as an adult. I did not like them when I was a teenager. But that said, I'm going to give this a 7.5, 8. I think this is a solid flick. It made me laugh out loud several times, and I'm kind of a cynic when it comes to comedy. So I got to give it to this movie for making me laugh. And it was Shirley MacLaine that mostly made me laugh in this movie.
I mean, it's Shirley MacLaine.
And I think because I was just watching it lightheartedly, that's why it was able to surprise me at the end, because I wasn't like let me break this down. Who would it be? Mostly because I didn't even think about the fact that it was a murder mystery, like that it shouldn't have been until it was all of a sudden. Anyway, on that note, yeah, I would say an 8. Well, there you go. This has been an episode about Brendan Fraser and a little bit about Comic-Con, but hey,
Patience.
And patience, as well as comedy, lots of comedy. But yeah, episode 37 in the bag. Thank you guys for showing up. We're gonna do our normal raid, and it is Raven armed. There's nobody else on.
If you were a part of the Smash Bros raid, thank you for being here. Please follow us, and so you can know when we are on next, and you can join in.
You can follow us, and we'll be on most Sundays.
And also follow the Discord so you know what we're watching, so you can watch it and join us.
Yep, we put them on there every time we're going to put up movies. We announce them so you guys can watch them ahead of time. So, all right. Good night, all.
Bye.
Bye, guys.